Welcome into the year-end C3 pod. My name is Steve Johnston. I'm the current toy expert on History's Pawn Stars, coming back for a new season. Following me up in the top right-hand corner, Mr. Brendan Allen, senior editor, comiccon.com. And I said top right corner. He's normally in the top right corner. I actually didn't look, and then I see that he's moved.
I'm in the center square where I belong. I am Shadow.
Now he's back in the top right corner.
Hollywood Squares.
And with that mentioned, and with that mentioned, then we'll mention that Mr. Erik Amaya down at the bottom right, the editor-in-chief of comiccon.com and producer of the C3 pod, who just obliged me by moving Brendan to where I said he was at, making me look better. I appreciate you very much. And so he did that. And then in the bottom left, Mr. Human Promotion Machine, the human hedgehog, the only man who never takes a breath when he's talking about himself, Mr. Paul Vato. How are you guys?
Well, you know what? Enough about me. Let's talk about you guys. What do you think about me?
Well, we'll start with Brendan Allen. I feel like he'll give a very glowing review, and it'll be hard to follow.
You know what, Paul?
You
are very sincere. I believe that every single product that you hawk is something that you believe in, and there's not a lot of people out there that are so genuine in like everything that they say. I don't think I've ever heard you like talk somebody down or bullshit them. You believe every word that you say, and that's a quality.
Wonderful. As long as I believe it, it's true. Thank you, Brandon.
I mean, that's fine. And
no, thank you.
You know what? I'm gonna choose a different word for Paul. Consistency. Paul exhibits consistency in a very high fashion. If he's gonna be late, he's always late. If he's gonna be on time, he's always on time. If he's going to pitch something, he's going to pitch the hell out of it. So consistency is there, 100% consistent. Now, whether his consistency is good, bad, or not, that's for you to decide. But consistency is what I would give Paul. What about you, Brett?
That's a good one. I'd say reliable, because anytime we throw to him and we need him to deliver, he does, even when it's unintentional. So even if it seems like on the surface that he's botching it when we throw to him, he's really actually making contact every time. He never really strikes out. He's going to get on base one way or the other. He really is. And a lot of times on the surface, it doesn't necessarily.
He might run to third instead of first, but he'll get on base.
Absolutely, Brennan. And you know what? It doesn't always look pretty, but it is never not effective. It always gets the job done. And we're never ending an episode of this very show disappointed with Paul Vato.
Oh, absolutely not. I agree with that. And it's funny, I guess, when you were giving your example, I was thinking about it in sports terms. Mm-hmm. And it seems to me like Paul's the guy that always shows up, never really gets the high-end contract, always performs, but never is in the discussion for the best.
The glue guy. He's the glue
guy.
There you go.
He's Brandon Belt.
Way to put
He's Brandon Belt.
Exactly.
He's not the best player on the 2010, 12, or 14 Giants, but he was a very important player.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like what Herb Brooks said about the 1980 U.S. Olympic hockey team. It's not necessarily about having the best players. It's about having the right ones. Well, there you go.
Who's the guy that was that played one game? Oh shit. Was it with Michael Jordan? And Michael Jordan set the scoring record. Am I remembering this right? And they interviewed the dude after the game because everybody was on Jordan. And so one interviewer was just like, shit, well, what do you have to say? And he's like, I will never forget tonight as the night that me and Michael Jordan combined for 82 points.
Case in point.
And in that interview, the participation trophy was born.
Right.
It's all in how you frame it, man. There's no lie in the statement. It's all in how you frame it. It's
it is 100%. Erik, what is your review of Mr. Paul Vato?
Well, what I appreciate most is how humble he is. It's very amazing how someone can be that talented and that dedicated and that consistent, and still come off as a human being. That's pretty amazing.
Oh man. Well, me
Paul
and
woke
my
up this morning and had no idea that he was going to get this many rubs.
Not at all.
No, so far this is the favorite beginning of any episode that we've had. I'll tell you what, fans are probably already tweeting it out. So let's continue to say all these great things about me. And thank you for the vote of confidence and calling me humble. Me and my 8-inch penis, thank you guys.
All right, do we have to take another run at the start of the show and
And of
all this
course-
now that he just
right.
ruined
Of
everything
course,
that we
you
just
know,
said nice about him?
Paul is what I call a butt guy, right? Do you know what a butt guy is? So the butt guy is a guy that uses butt in his sentences often, right? So everything that he says before, right, is completely erased as soon as he inserts his butt into it, right?
And
There's
as an
a-
improviser,
there's a comic there's a comic device where it's like the end of the punchline completely invalidates everything that you thought that came before it. It like completely flips the thing. I forget what the name of it is, but yeah, no, that's Paul to a T. It's like he does a whole setup and you think it's going to go one direction, and then it goes completely sideways backwards, and it's just you just got to go with it because it's just you got suckered in. You just got to own it.
The only one direction in Paul's life is the one that he recorded on his Walkman from the 80s and plays back to himself on a regular basis. That's it. With that said, Paul is definitely a kid of the 90s. All right. CDs are his thing. He's still got his CD recorder, and he duplicates CDs for people, bootleg on the market, but don't call it bootleg. He calls it Paul Vato leg. It's completely different.
He's got to brand everything.
Yeah, absolutely. He's, one thing Paul will do, and I will tell you this about Paul Vato, and this is not, but one thing Paul will do is he will find a way to make your thing his. 100%. He 100% will find a way to do that. And that's a skill all on its own. And I got to give that credit to him. It's funny because I don't know that we normally would plan to have started this way, but with the end of the year and doing this is a very appropriate time to praise Paul, because after all, right, we don't have to do it for another year now.
Yep.
So
get 2025 out of the way. Don't have to worry about it.
Yeah. So I feel like, hey guys, great timing on this. I'm glad that we didn't do it like early in the year where then we might have like stumbled upon and did it again. I'd hate to duplicate this a couple of times a year. It just doesn't make sense for me. But
no, last episode of the year makes perfect sense. We'll just not have to do it again until next December. So
right, exactly.
Put it in your rider. You get lots of praise on the last episode of the year, and just don't expect shit for the whole rest of the season.
Yep. So enjoy this one, buddy.
Understood. Now, I would love to be able to return the favor and say all these great and wonderful things about you guys, but I, for the life of me, cannot think of one redeeming quality of any of you. So I'm gonna have to think about it.
Not even Erik. What has Erik ever done to you?
Yeah,
Eric's the nicest guy in the world.
I'm up in the top 3 here, and Erik
You're right.
exempt.
You're right. I have a lot of great things to say about Erik. So, but that would be about it. So, thank you guys.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
He's Latino.
Wait, can I make just a caveat before we get started with this week's episode? I don't know if you can hear it in my voice, but I am very sick. I barely made it out of bed yesterday. So I tried working on this ROS for about 4 hours straight before I was just like, you know what? It is what it is. It may not make any goddamn sense, but if it doesn't, I'm going to blame it on whatever fever dream I was having yesterday. Yep. I am so hopped up right now on NyQuil and albuterol and whatever, just to be here because I love you guys. But if something doesn't track later on, I'm blaming the sickness. I'm just saying right now.
And if it winds up being the best episode ever, now we have to sedate you for every single one because now we found the formula.
Yeah. What I'm disappointed is that Paul said he couldn't find redeeming quality, but I mean, instantly, Brendan shared probably his strongest redeeming quality, which is finding a way to defer responsibility to other people, right?
Which is so like the opposite of what I do. That's so the opposite of what I do.
Like he is.
I love that everything that we said about Paul was like super honest.
Yeah, he doesn't accept any responsibility to anything. He finds the workaround as to why it occurred. But understand, he doesn't just do it like he does it very surgically, right? Because he strips it down.
Cerebral assassin.
Gives you this step by step. If you noticed, it was, I spent 4 hours on it, but I was in bed all day the day before. And being in bed all day before was already going to make that tough, but hold on, there's more. And then he gives you 6 other reasons why, right? And they're all step by step in the process. Paul, that's a redeeming quality. So I don't know how you miss that one.
You're absolutely right. Thanks, boss. Thanks for pointing that out. That's so true. Yeah, it's so true. There you go.
I love how much we just built up Paul Vato and how immediately you took the first chance to throw me under the bus. I love you, Steve.
You're welcome.
Gotta get him out. Last chance of 2025.
I mean, it's true. It's very, very true.
We could do like those cultures, like in Peru or somewhere where once a year you can get together and beat the crap out of each other, and then all the beefs are done. So maybe
or this is our it's our version of Festivus. We're airing our grievances. That's what it is. Yeah.
Wait, what are the Festivus? There's like 5 things with Festivus, right? There's something. What is
it? Yeah, exactly. They'll be on Reddit or the AI feature of Google. Just pop up right away.
Look at the promotion machine come out of Brett Lawson. All of a
sudden. I know, right?
Okay,
it's instantly he just starts name dropping all these places to go,
plugging things that in
it's
no
the
way
aluminum,
benefit us.
Instead of
pole,
things that would help the podcast.
Stripper pole. You don't decorate it; it's just aluminum pole that stands up straight in the centerpiece, symbolizing anti-commercialism. But I mean, somebody had to. I mean, there's a foundry involved. There's a lot. Anyway, the airing of grievances. We should do that. We should do that at the end. The very end, we'll air our grievances. Yeah, let's do that. Festivus dinner, meatloaf on a bed of lettuce with peas on. Oh God, and that feats of strength. We wrestle, and then the Festivus miracles, which are not miracles. It's just shit that you call miracles, which is every miracle that ever happened, right?
That's fair. I will state this though. That very last one, Paul Vato recreates that daily.
Oh,
right. Whatever the best thing that's ever happened to him is still happening. Is that right, Paul?
You are 100% correct. Thank you. And please, as the marquee says there, please send praise and comic books, because I'm going to run out of these real soon.
Hey, I want to say though, for real, back to Paul.
Yeah.
Like, I talked to him on the phone yesterday, and I was talking to him, and he said, "Hey, I went to my local comic shop and I picked up some comics." And he was telling me the comics he picked up. I was like, "Dude, that was an awesome pull." He is like throwing himself headlong into this comics thing, like trying to learn as much as he can. And that comes up when he's like, "Oh, well, that's a Virgin cover, and that's a variant cover, and that's this and that." Like the stuff that he's picking up, he's actually going out and getting comics now. So we have converted one person to go and get subscriptions to comics at one local comic book shop.
Job done.
I was even gifted. And if I may do a shout out to, I hope you don't mind, Steve. It's a fellow, it's competition, but it's here in Elgin, Illinois. It's called Tom's Comics, THOM. He spells it. And he was nice enough to even give me this, because when he found out that I was possibly doing a Hedgehog comic, he goes, "Well, here's your competition. Cerebus." I don't know if any of you are familiar with Cerebus, but he's an aardvark. Cerebus. Sorry, I guess you are familiar with Cerebus.
Yeah.
So he was kind enough to gift me this. So shout out to your local comic book store. He only takes cash. It's but you get a 10%. Everyone gets a 10% discount. He's open limited hours. I think like Mondays and then Saturday and Sunday.
All right, wait, no. This is good. So, Steve, we know what your comic book shop is. Paul just told us his. Eric, where do you go for your local in LA? Where you're at?
Mine just closed.
Oh, it closed. Damn.
Yeah. So I am in the hunt for something new, but which means unfortunately my comic book shop right now is Neon Ichiban.
Well, actually, my comic book shop, Mega City 2 here in Bakersfield, California, actually has a Mega City in LA.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Whereabouts though? Because I drive time.
I don't know. LA's huge. Bakersfield's huge. I just know Mega City 2 is right next to my kid's school. So when I'm there early to pick them up, because you got to be there early because these parents in the drop-off line are nuts. I get there like half an hour early. I walk over to the comic book store. I pull my stuff. I talk to the British guy that works there all the time, who's hilarious. Who's just like, fuck the world. And that's his whole like outlook on everything. And I'm like, yes. But yeah, I go over there and I'll pull and we talk about the show. We talk about different stuff that's coming up. They've had promoted PokeCon and different events or whatever, because Bakersfield is only 4 hours from Las Vegas. So it's an easy drive. But Mega City 2, it's Mega City 2 because the original Mega City is in Los Angeles somewhere.
I see.
What part of the LA area are you in, Eric?
San Gabriel Valley. But you know what? I will actually mention my old shop because they're still trying to liquidate their inventory. So Comics Factory in Pasadena, California. I think it's comicsfactory.com. They're doing a liquidation sale right now. But the location is no longer open.
Mega City 1 is on Melrose in Los Angeles.
You know what I'm really interested to see? By the way, just really quick, Eric, I should also mention that Golden Apple is in your haunts.
Getting to that side of town
I know.
from San Gabriel Valley is kind of a trek. That's like a kind of a day trip.
It's a tough one, but they are on New Comics. They're one of the staples in the hobby. So you do have that. The interesting one is going to be Mr. Brett Lawson and who he's endorsing.
Easy. One of Us Comics. My loyal allegiance without question. Now, when I was a kid, there was an area there's in the Spring Valley area here, there's a place called Maximum Comics. Mostly just due to the proximity, and it was always next to like a GameStop. So it was actually one of those fun things, going to a Walmart, shopping with my parents. So I'll give them a little shout out because they were very convenient. Coming out of the store, they were right there. Going to get a bite to eat, they were right there. So that was pretty cool. But now, One of Us Comics, I haven't even been to another local comic shop in the past couple of years with my man, Steve Johnston. And the best thing is that actually, really, when I've passed it along for like some of those first Fridays down there at the Arts District that we've hosted, I've had some buddies here and there show up, and they're blown away by the store as well, especially with the way they've kind of collected some of their, the collecting covers for your wall or for your office kind of became a trendy thing for even people who weren't diehard comic book fans. They may even get covers of books they've never read. So I even have the casual friends who, go to your place and they absolutely love it. And then of course the diehards, it's an absolute haven. When I first walked in there, I was so enamored by all the collectibles. It took me a minute to even get to the comics. So absolutely, One of Us all day.
Absolutely. And, for me, obviously, I'm, sitting in my own seat, but I will tell you, you mentioned Maximum Comics, and Maximum Comics is one that I highly suggest that people check out. They do only have one location left in Las Vegas, which is they closed the Centennial and the Henderson locations. They do have the Southwest location as well. I also highly suggest people go visit Alternate Reality Comics. Ralph just celebrated his 30th year of that store's existence in Las Vegas, making it the longest standing store in Vegas. So I'd highly suggest them. And then a shout out to just some friends that I think do things the right way. And that's Blackbird Comics, which is in North Las Vegas. The team up there does a really great job. So I will definitely take time to point out the other businesses outside of, my haunts of Pandemonium. But we, we're looking at some things that are coming up for the year and at this year end. And before we, wrap this up, I made the comment that we all should have wore our ugly sweaters today. And it triggers me to think about the ugly, cute trends of the year. And let's run through some of these ugly, cute trends that occurred this year. And we're going to start with the big one, I think, and that's going to be Labubu. So Labubu got presented to us, comes out of Japan through Pop Mart. Pop Mart is a retailer, United States and internationally, and they built a concept where a majority of their business is built off blind boxes. And the Labubu came into existence and it really took off. These cuddly little characters. And as you see here, these are the exciting macarons version of the Labubus. The little pouch that's actually on the front is an added accessory, which is kind of fun. But that's exactly what people got into, right? They got into these things being fun to where, look, when anything gets popular, what happens? It becomes a, duplicated. People fake it. People try to put out versions of it, or they create accessories and activities and other things they could do. So we've seen everything this year from the retail side of this all the way through people creating, secondary businesses and opportunities within that market. But we also saw people like doing events. I saw places here in Vegas doing Labubu raves. And bring your Labubus and rave and all this stuff.
Wow.
I've seen promotions.
That tracks though. That tracks 100% because the colors and stuff that they have for the Labubu, they have those neons and stuff. And I'll bet you there's some that you throw a glow stick on and it fits right in with that crowd.
Yeah, and so totally makes sense. So real quick, I don't want to spend a ton of time on each one, but I think Labubu is probably the biggest one on this list. Let's quickly go around. Brett, Labubu, to you. What happened? Where's it at? Where's it going? What do you think?
Everything I know is based off your media coverage, local TV spots, even stuff we've done on past podcasts, together, even on the sports show that we had. There's just various insights I have are all from either Steve, some type of expert, insider within the business itself, or just friends who kind of gotten into the madness. I never once dabbled in it. It's not my cup of tea. It's not my bag. It is interesting to learn about and hear about. I mean, and even, read about on social media. What you just said there regarding the raves, that was something I never would have guessed. But at the same time, it's also something that is in no way surprising. So it's kind of just one of those things where you bring it up. I'll have a strong recollective memory of it as opposed to, the recollective memory I could have used just a moment ago. But, we all know what I'm addressing there. But ultimately, it's going to be something that I associate with 2025. And by, Q1 of 2026, it'll already be absent from my mind. The end of Q1.
And so, when you think of these items, Brendan, like the impact that Labubu had in the marketplace, like you were involved in it, right? Your kids got into it.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing is, we ended up with our first Labubu being fakes because we're supporting one of the local vendors here in town. And we knew they probably weren't real because of the cost and everything, but it was just fun. And, they were better made fakes. But the thing was funny is they were both in the same box. They were both in the same package. We pulled them out and they were the same color. They were supposed to be the same one, but they had completely different things about them. Like they looked so different. The glow in the dark thing on one of them was an insert piece of glow in the dark plastic. And on the other one, it was a weird stamp. And it was funny. But then we ended up with real ones that you hooked us up with through your supplier or whatever. And then looking at the differences between the real ones and the fake ones. And, the thing is, you talked about the impact on pop culture. And I wonder, how many Labubu cakes after our friends at Teaspoon Bakery made the cake for your son, how many cakes just like that they had to make because it had to be a huge birthday theme, and Halloween costumes and all the other stuff that came out, it was a huge impact. And then you look at the ones that came after because the same company that made Labubu is also making the same product I think we're about to talk about, and they've got a couple of different lines that fall into this blind bag ugly cute kind of structure that it worked once, it's going to work again, and as the returns start to diminish on Labubu, the other lines are going to step up and kind of fall into that same collectible space, I think.
Well, I think what benefited for people while people are sitting there going, well, Pop Mart isn't doing well because Labubu is not as big as it was and all this stuff. No, but their other lines have scaled. So,
right.
Don't forget the genius, right, Erik? I mean, that's one of the things that happens in this world is that when you have an item like this and you can pivot into something else, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's because the example I was going to give kind of on impact is sort of that when you go to San Diego Comic-Con, for the longest time, the most southern part of the hall, all the excitement was around the Funko booth. And this year, all the excitement was around Pop Mart's booth. And that's an amazing thing. But also, Funko's kind of in trouble because they couldn't pivot to, the Mondo toy thing fast enough. So, Pop Mart seems to be saying, yeah, we need to switch just in case this thing can't, maintain the fire.
And then, I've got to address the elephant in the room, right? And this is, Paul, no, they're not going to make the Paul Vato line of Labubu. I'm sorry.
Come on. I'm going to get a Funko Pop doll then.
See, he's you said because they're not doing so well, Paul's like, well, Funko needs me for sure. Like immediately just
so.
Hey, you can't be picky, Funko. You can't be picky. Paul Vato is here. He's willing. He's available. You got to take what you can get.
So let's point out these next two, just to point out the ugly cute trends continued. Skull Panda. Now, Skull Panda's been around for a while, right? As animations, they've done novelty stuff, whatever it is. But the Skull Panda designs really kind of like took off this year. I think it was a combination of like the blind box concept, which isn't new to it, right? But the fact that they got more integrated into people's interests in the world of anime. And I think that has helped scale them a bit. And again, distribution through Pop Mart on this. Pop Mart's been really good about going out and grabbing licenses with creators and then creating the product for those creators. So what they did is they found that spot in the market, that soft spot, whereas you normally are going to go in and produce your own items. They're saying, hey, we like your concept so much. We're going to license your concept from you, and we're going to create everything, and we're going to sell everything. So they did that really well. So primarily distributed at Pop Mart, you had Skull Panda, and then we'll go to the next one, which are the Fugglers. And the Fuggler's funny because the Fuggler's a mass distribution product, and they've done all kinds of licensing up against Ninja Turtles and different things. And this is exactly what it is. They're little monsters. They're fugly. They've got like real teeth, and they definitely took off. They've probably, of the things that we've mentioned, they have the biggest slowing in the marketplace. They're the one that probably saw the biggest impact from the other ones coming in, kind of steering people away from what they're doing. And then two, I think part of what the novelty aspect of the distribution with the Pop Mart products is that because that distribution is only with Pop Mart and so limited, it makes it even harder to get. So for people, especially if you're in a market that you don't have a Pop Mart within the near, distance or whatever it is, they absolutely have found that when you have the mass distribution, if it shows available, but the trend kind of dips, it sits. And that's what's happened with Fuggler, whereas a lot of the other lines still have interest in stuff because there's only one place to go, right? So limiting in this market, I think, is really key for the distribution. And that's part of the problem that we mentioned, the aforementioned Funko. I mean, I think it's safe to say that in the world of toys, Funko is probably taking the biggest hit in 2025. But seeing some of these toy lines ascend and fall so quick, like Fuggler, is interesting. So Skull Panda and Fuggler, we'll start with you, Brendan. These two lines, did they impact you at all? Did you see them? Or do you understand people's interest in them?
Well, I saw it. The thing is when I was searching the Labubu images, these are the things that came up because they're connected. So typically, you look at parents who are trying to buy stuff, and if they can't get the Labubu or they can't get the whatever, they're looking for something similar. You've got the blind box, blind bag marketing, which is genius because you're going to sell 10 products instead of 3, because people are going to chase, the one that they want. They're going to get duplicates. They're going to trade. It's going to create more interest in that secondary market. The thing about Fugglers that I thought was hilarious is like they made that movie Ugly Dolls, and none of the dolls in that movie were ugly. They were all adorable. It's like, this is what they should have looked like, because the movie makes so much more sense when they're actually ugly dolls. Like there's so much character to this thing. Like the teeth are off center. They're not symmetrical. The eyes are looking in different directions or whatever. It reminds me of somebody, I can't place quite who, but this is something that I want. It's one of those things like you go to the pound and you see the dog that's a basset hound mixed with, a golden retriever. So it's a golden retriever on short legs or whatever with a long body. And it's like, that's the one I want because it's so goofy that you just got to love it. Right. But I love this thing. I would take this over a Labubu personally, but that doesn't play into the collectible side of things, I guess, or the popular side of things. But I prefer this actually. This design and the other designs look cooler to me than the Labubus that all look the same with different fur.
So if you just joined us, this is your first time on the podcast, first time hearing, Brendan give a description. I do need to clarify. He was not describing Paul Vato. Okay. That was not what he was doing at all. Paul.
What
the Fugglers.
After all those nice things?
Yeah, they were great.
God. I mean,
what are your thoughts on these guys for the year of the ugly cute trend in the world of pop culture? Paul's
Who,
lost
me?
him. Yeah, just don't worry.
Your name is Paul. Hi, welcome to the show.
It's good to be here, guys. Well, yeah, I was just so reeled back by all the great things you guys said. And then
hold on. I just realized that in that one moment, all of the glaring praise that Paul got at the beginning of the segment was immediately erased because 90% of what he was praised for, he just completely fumbled.
That was your butt moment. But Paul Vato looks like a fugly doll. You know, that's why I have an affinity for him. I'd rather have a fugly doll and drag it through the mud and not be afraid to make it look even uglier. Why just keep something pretty and pristine? You know, play with it, and who cares? So yeah, because these are some ugly dolls. So yeah, no, I'm all
Paul
for
is
it.
saying
I
that.
like that.
Meanwhile, Brett's freezer is full of pretty things that he doesn't want to let go.
What I'm wondering is, Paul, like, and that's funny you bring that up, Brennan, because you actually made a good comment about it, because I actually do think it's perfect. Like, the plan for 2026 to be is, where is the psychopath going to go once he is done with this current domain? And if my New Year's resolution is to get the hell out of the garage, Paul, yours needs to be to speak up when you have gold. Steve threw to you. You didn't have anything lined up. Meanwhile, in the comments, the things that you don't say that the audience is not privy to would have been gold. Jose
Don't read the second to last comment. Read that last one, because that one tracks
please. I don't even want to read. Please, by all means, Paul. Like, and it's very relevant to the actual product we have in front of us.
Because this actually could be an idea that lunatic that we talked about before could do with that thing.
No.
So,
dude, on top of it, as soon as you said that, go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, no, I was wondering if there's a possible collab between Jose Canseco and his teeth and these dolls. I mean, let's use. You said they're real.
Dude, if you're Fugler, here's your $1 million idea. Okay, Fugler, go to Major League Baseball, see if you can get a licensing agreement with the, I guess we'll call them the Sacramento Athletics,
Las Vegas Athletics at the start of next season, isn't it?
28, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they said 28. All right.
Yeah. So, so the Athletics get that deal done, then go do a licensing deal for likeness with Canseco. And then this guy that has Canseco's teeth can then put in randomly inserted Jose Canseco teeth can be randomly found in the blind boxes of the Fugglers.
Oh, man.
Blind box. That's a game winner.
Man.
Game over.
You're welcome.
And now we're on to a whole new thing. Paul Vato signed up next. He's ready for the Paul Vato teeth to be incorporated in.
There was one other ugly cute item that I found on the internet that I put in this segment. We haven't pulled that image up yet.
Yeah, we need to pull that up right before we go to break here. So the final item is, it's Paul Vato. Paul Vato himself. I see. The addition of Paul Vato in this photo over the Paul Vato that we've gotten today.
Yeah.
A couple of things. One, clean shaven, right? Two, he's got a little bit more of a glow to him, right? You know, in this picture.
That's a filter.
Which I was going to get at, which is a filter. Thank you very much. Again, Brendan Allen doing Brendan Allen things.
That's me. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But no, Paul. So let's start with Paul. Paul, being one of the ugly cute trends for the year. Congrats, Paul. How do you feel?
I certainly hope so. I mean, I just hope all the women get behind it and they're like, "Yep, that's what we want: cute, ugly things," because that'll raise my stock. But you got to realize this is a professionally taken photo under great lighting, some airbrushing, whatnot for an actor. And what you're getting right now is being jostled awake at 11:55 a.m. to come do this godforsaken
jostled awake
show.
at lunch.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be
5 to
a little,
noon.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So you understand my sacrifice. Of course, I'm going to look like this. I haven't even had a shower yet, or maybe won't even until next week. I don't know. When are we recording again? 2 weeks?
Well, he's not North Korea time anyways, right?
If that's 5 to noon, if the fact we get you
what time is it in North Korea?
55 minutes before, that's remarkable for this podcast.
It's very remarkable.
Oh, it's the middle of the night in North Korea. It's 3:43 a.m.
You know,
and it's actually, little known fact, they have a different time, so it's not even 3:43 a.m. It's probably something like 4:15 a.m. or 3 a.m. It's off by like 45 minutes as well in North Korea. I don't know if you guys do that or not. I think they have two times, but I'm fascinated with.
Though. I'm looking at it right now.
All right. Well, I'm going to tell you what.
Not.
We're going to take this ugly trend to break, and when we come back, we're going to showcase the producer. We're giving the producer his due as he'll lead off the top of the next segment as we talk about a recap of the superhero movies for 2025. We'll be doing that right here on the C3 Pod.
Peppermint Patty's the worst. Comicon.com, your daily comic convention online. Insightful reviews, previews of the comics, toys, and games you need to know. Delightful chats with luminaries from around the geek spectrum. In print, on video, and everywhere in between. The show never stops on Comicon.com.
And welcome back to the C3 Pod, the year-end edition. We appreciate you guys joining us and checking us out. I'd like to take a quick reminder to let you guys know that you can join our Patreon and catch the stuff that happens off the podcast. There's all bits, quips, all kinds of stuff, including lots of jarring shots at Mr. Paul Vato. Well, wait, no, that's during the podcast. Sorry. Off. Oh, okay, it's completely opposite when you come to the Patreon. But go check that out. We appreciate it. And also would like to remind you guys that this segment is presented by our friends at Hobby Lava and Drip Packs and the Hobby Lava or Lava Packs. Go to lavapacks.com, pick yourself up a mystery pack, Pokemon, Bo Jackson's Battle Arena, and they've got other product that's scaling on. They just brought a Disney line that's doing really well and a lot of fun. Get yourself a mystery pack, have some fun, bring some nostalgia back, get yourself into the trading card hobby, even if you're not in it, or if you're a big collector, take a shot at hitting one of the chase cards in a product. But again, visit our friends at Lava Packs and lavapacks.com. And thank you for their support of the C3 Pod. We don't get to do this often, but I'm excited to do this, and that is segment number 2 is presented by our executive producer, Mr. Erik Amaya, because he is the comic movie, all movies, all genres. He is our expert. He's our resident expert when it comes to the cinemas.
And impersonator extraordinaire.
And impersonator extraordinaire. I like that.
Oh, wait, you're going to work on a impression of me, and I haven't heard it yet.
Yeah, I'm still working on that, actually.
He's workshopping, but we have to vote for his number 1 of the year for 2025 for the impersonations.
The problem that I have with, and again, look, I'm only speaking because Erik, came to me about this, and that is that impersonation of you. He just doesn't understand why he has to whine so much. So he's just trying to figure that out. But outside of that, and so I talked him through it, right? And he was having a tough time with it. And Erik, I'm glad we got that call together and you're able to really work on that. But right now we're going to talk about the 2025 comics and film movie review for the year. So Erik, take it away.
Yeah. All right, here we go. We're starting with, we're going in release order chronologically from, first of the year to end of the year. So we're starting with Captain America, Brave New World. Yeah, I enjoyed this movie when I was watching it, but the further and further I get from it, the more and more annoyed I am by it. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't have anything to do with Sam as Captain America, because I always thought Sam was cool. Like back during Civil War, the thing was team Tony or team Cap. Like, no, the real struggle is Team Bucky or Team Sam, and I'm all about Team Sam. I think ultimately my problem with it is, oddly enough, Harrison Ford's the Red Hulk. Whatever that is, I do something in it. He's so disconnected. And that's kind of the problem with this movie is, like, every 5 minutes you feel like you're disconnected and in, I don't know, a new episode of a Captain America TV show. It's a strangely put together movie. And I know they did a lot of reshoots on it too.
Yeah.
So it's like, this is like the Marvel method as a film, and I don't think it works.
And you could tell last minute, like it's one of those kind of like how Quantumania was, where you could tell, man, that when you're in the theater watching it, they shot this like 14 days ago type stuff. Like it really does feel that way. Erik, let me ask you this really quick, because I know other people have thoughts. How much in terms of the marketing, basically giving away damn near every Red Hulk scene, maybe not literally every shot you see, but at least every scene of Red Hulk in the Capitol fighting Sam, kind of like even what we see with the image here, we saw it all in the promotional footage and the TV spots and the trailers and the teasers. By the time you got to it, sure, you saw the full-blown transformation from Thaddeus Ross to Red Hulk actually play out, but it was nothing we were expecting, and we weren't necessarily, there was no shock value in it. And it was a character everyone was waiting to see for a long time. I think that ultimately hurt it, don't you?
Oh yeah, very much so. But the funny thing about that is Marvel's hands were tied because they delayed the movie by about a year.
Right.
And McDonald's
they had to change
the
They had
tie-in
to change the
promotion,
title.
right?
And they had to change the title, right?
And you know, McDonald's can't delay its toy promotions, so they still released those Captain America toys a year before the movie came out. Red Hulk was amongst them, and Marvel had no choice to be like, okay, now we shifted to Red Hulk. You know, people are going to care about Red Hulk, and I don't think people do. I don't think people even care about Harrison Ford being
Right.
Red Hulk. Like, I don't think it lands.
Yeah, and I don't think it's necessarily an Anthony Mackie problem as much as it is the fact that this was a movie that was kind of important, but it was hard for a movie of this magnitude to set things up moving forward to necessarily draw people in, Steve.
It's not memorable, right?
I wonder if the inclusion of Harrison Ford was more to like draw in my generation and my parents' generation into the MCU, because they're so familiar with Harrison Ford from Star Wars and from Indiana Jones, depending on which generation you're from.
Right.
I wonder if it's just one of those things where it's like, what actor can we bring in that's going to really tie together, our target market plus their parents?
So you see me shaking my head because I think you've got this wrong. That is a question that they never asked because it's not a target demographic. They could care less about that demographic.
I'm just wondering because it's a weird choice. I'm just wondering what the thought process was.
No,
it is
they'll target that demographic when they stream it, right? Because that's at this point, that's where that market is at. It's that consumer is no longer going to the theater, right? So experienced consumer is. This movie was not memorable. It doesn't have the memorable one-liners. It doesn't have the memorable moments. It doesn't have the thing that sticks with you and makes you feel bad. You don't feel bad for a character. You don't feel great for a character. You don't feel like someone's overly loved. You don't feel like someone's overly hated. You don't have enough information about them to know. And honestly, this casting was just poorly done. And it was done off the fact that they thought they were getting Air Force One, Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
Which was Harrison Ford in his prime.
Yeah.
And he's not putting Air Force One effort into this movie.
And can we agree? That's why this movie's tricky, because I think everything you just said, Steve, is spot on. And I also agree with Erik in the sense that as I watched it, not for a millisecond did I not enjoy myself. I was perfectly satisfied with the movie from start to finish, but I probably thought about it maybe once since I watched it. And it's because the reason you just said, it's not memorable. Doesn't mean it's a bad movie. It's a lot better than what a lot of recent, Phase 4 and Phase 5 projects Marvel has put out there. And this was kind of a pivotal one in terms of being the launching point for everything leading up to Doomsday, the same way Civil War was for Infinity War. Obviously, it just doesn't hit on the same type of beats, but it's the same type of intention. And ultimately, while it kind of meant well as a movie, it's like what you said, it just doesn't sit in your mind. By the time Thunderbolts came out, I wasn't even thinking about this anymore. Long done by then.
I could pick 3 episodes of Vision and Scarlet Witch that would outpace this in longevity over time. Episodes.
Right.
So to say that that's 5 times what this film was, that's my opinion.
I think Falcon and the Winter Soldier as a show was better than this because I think Falcon and the Winter Soldier had to deal with COVID and a lot of those things. And even that, I think the dynamic between Bucky and Sam, that was enough for that show to be a driving force emotionally that this didn't have that emotional anchor, like you said.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
So, again, that's kind of my thoughts on it. And I think that, you just led into Thunderbolt. So Erik, I'll let you go to number 2 here and let's discuss number 2 on your list.
Yeah. Number 2 is Thunderbolts. Or really the Black Widow movie that should have always existed, because this movie doesn't work without Florence Pugh. It's like, I love Bucky. I love Red Guardian. I even enjoy the presence of US Agent, but it's like without Florence Pugh, what even is this?
Right.
So it's good that they kind of made her the anchor and everyone has a relationship to her. And I think because of that, and because this movie was so low stakes, like they're not worried about the multiverse, they're not worried about geopolitical things.
Yeah.
It is like the most successful movie of the 3 Marvels this year.
It was grounded. It was incredibly grounded. That's exactly what you said. It didn't have to necessarily have the major stakes. It didn't have to necessarily involve a extraterrestrial or global threat. It was the grounded movie Marvel needed to get back the audience that started drifting away because their scripts. That was the problem with Marvel ultimately. The scripts have been garbage for much of the the multiverse saga. This was a damn good script with a damn good cast. And like you said, Florence Pugh is the anchor. And I think the secret weapon, she was the anchor of it all, but the straw that helped stir the drink was Lewis Pullman, who just put an absolute showcase on. But I think you're spot on, Erik. It was really a Yelena highlight, if anything.
I think I just liked this one because it wasn't the same formula. It wasn't the same characters in the same setting doing the same shit over and over and over again.
Not cookie
it
cutter,
was in the same universe. There's references all over the place, but it's a unique look at a different team doing different stuff. And there's just enough familiarity with the actors and things like that. You know, Stranger Things is huge. That's brilliant casting. I think that this one, just for me, it was different enough to make me watch it, because so many of the MCU movies, like I forget where I'm at in the MCU timeline, because I've seen a lot of them, but I haven't seen a lot of them. And then I watch one and I'm like, where does this fit? And it's just, I'll give up on something halfway in because it just feels like the same crap over and over again, just repackaged.
Yep, rinse, wash, repeat. And this is finally something different. And you walked out of the theater feeling that way. You kind of felt, in a way, as funny as it is, the same way when you first saw the original Guardians of the Galaxy with James Gunn. Now, I know when we get to Superman, that is more similar to the Guardians of the Galaxy, tonally speaking. But the way you felt walking out of this theater is very much the same way you felt with Guardians. You're like, wow, that was new, and it was awesome.
I stay in a little bit different spot than you guys on this one.
Contrarian Steve.
No, I am. They did such a poor job with the No, hear me out. With the Captain America and Crossbones storyline, to where they essentially eliminated Crossbones from the MCU.
Yeah.
To not include Crossbones in this, who arguably in the Thunderbolts storyline is one of the, biggest parts of the whole thing, and the fact that the Baron Zemo that we got before this, should have been included. This is where the problem was, is that they did such a great job for so long with interconnecting the lines with everybody, right? And when you bring a character in, and they got lazy, and it became about, let me bring in a big character for a cameo, and that's it, or whatever it was, that some of those smaller side characters, the ones that actually were a big component to, say, the origin of the storyline of whatever the production is from the comic side being incorporated in. It's just people creating a script that are unaware of those small intangibles. I would make that same argument about what we got as a Taskmaster in the MCU.
Well, yeah, that's definitely true.
Right? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, I'd make that same argument that it was so poorly integrated. So as much as this was a fun movie, as much as this had good action, as much as it was neat because it was different characters, which is what we liked, right? And we did have the Bucky, and we did have, a couple of characters we had been introduced to. This by no means was this a great MCU movie. Well, it was a very good MCU movie in a year that was poorly made superhero movies across the board, in my opinion.
I'll say this, whether you think it's good or not, and the bottom line, it did not draw well. So it goes to show that even when they can make a good movie, a great movie, whatever you want to call it, even if you don't think it's that great, even when they could show a movie that, bring out a movie that at least feels somewhat fresh and new, obviously that's not moving the needle for them either. And that's why they ultimately, like Brendan said, they go back to their old approach. Once they get a movie that doesn't do very well, even if critically it does well, they go back to, okay, Spider-Man, Avengers, we have to do with what works. And I mean, Paul, even you, regardless of whether you've watched all the MCU films or just a few of them, there's clearly like certain films and certain things, I guess you could say tent poles, that they always go back to, right? Like regardless of if you know the hero or not, it's an MCU movie.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, I was just happy. I saw the Thundercats over here. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I saw the Thunderbolts at their premiere. Because it was all happening right there, right on Hollywood Boulevard. So a small part of that, just as it was, being debuted at the, as it's still called, Grauman's or Chinese Theater, right there in the heart of Hollywood. That was exciting to see all the excitement for this particular film. But yeah, you would think you see something, you're like, oh yeah, that's definitely a Marvel film, or that's definitely this or definitely that, but and even going back to the other one with Harrison, it's like they're not getting prime Harrison Ford. maybe just dialing it, phoning it in. So I don't know.
If there's one big plus I think the movie did, even if you don't like it, it finally addressed the fact that there's no Avengers. Captain America Brave New World tried to do it, but didn't really do it well. Finally, at least we have a somewhat of a team put together, even if it's a different team moving forward. And it did have a hell of a post-credit scene, which is what we'll get to here shortly. But I say at least finally it answered some questions like, all right, how are we going to set this up for Doomsday? Because if you look at comparatively where we were in the timeline for the Infinity Saga, when we were this close to Infinity War, we had a lot of dots connected compared to where we were when Thunderbolts came out. So they needed to kind of lay some bricks for the foundation, and they at least did that.
So, Erik, to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, is this a movie that you're going to go watch over again?
I think out of the 3 Marvels this year, yeah, this is the one I'm going to watch again. And I think that's down to, it's down to Florence Pugh. It's down to Phil Pullman. It's down to, I like these actors, right? And they feel invested in a way that the performers don't necessarily feel in the other Marvel movies this year anyway.
I mean, I think Sebastian Stan has played Winter Soldier incredibly well, and playing Bucky as
one of the best. One of the best. Yep.
He is that persona has been very well attributed, and you don't find this often. He's a guy though that read about his role, got into the comic book side, and paid attention to it. Just like some of the others. I mean, you've heard me mention Gambit a couple of times over the year, in regards to the fact that or in Venom, where these lead actors have delved into the role by going and reading about how these comic book creators presented them and portrayed them, and they've bought in. And when you buy in and you give performances like they do, it's consistent. This movie's execution as a movie was great. The problem is there's so many gaps in it, in my opinion, that it just makes it hard for me to follow along and have a lot of real interest in it.
And I mean, a lot of people also, I mean, you would essentially have to, it's basically a companion or a sequel to Black Widow and Falcon the Winter Soldier, movies that came out right in the aftermath directly of everything with the pandemic, and stuff that people probably don't really remember at this point. I mean, you've had Spider-Man No Way Home come out, you've had Doctor Strange, you've had Thor Love and Thunder, which a lot of people hated, but since they hated it, it sticks out in their mind because of the emotional, or in their hearts because of the emotional reaction. It's so easy to forget about Falcon the Winter Soldier and Black Widow at this point. It feels like forever since we've seen Red Guardian. Maybe not so much Yelena because she was in the Hawkeye show, but even so much. I mean, like all the John Walker, Ghost since Ant-Man and the Wasp, like Taskmaster, like who was in it for the cup of coffee, not even that, a sip of coffee. So it was one of those things where, like, even if you were a big diehard fan of the MCU, you kind of have to go back in your memory, think, oh, wow, we haven't addressed this stuff in a while.
Yeah.
It's interesting. This next one, Erik, I think that this is going to be a movie that people are going to go back and watch again. And the second time, I think they're going to enjoy it more than the first time.
Okay, that's an interesting take. Because it is Superman, and gosh, okay, here we go. Here's my take in one sentence.
Do it.
This movie reminds me of reading early 90s Superman comics.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it has that feel, it has that reality, it has that joy to it, right? And I posted that somewhere on a Discord server or something. And the person who responded to me said, no, it feels like a Silver Age Superman.
That's why I'm laughing right now. And then you say, but what about the Golden Age? Because it feels like that's the
amazing thing.
Dude, Golden Age is bonkers, though. People misremember the Golden Age because Superman was a criminal.
Yeah.
And people just don't realize he used to lie, cheat, steal, and murder people to make his point. Like he kidnapped the star quarterback of a professional football team, drugged him, and chained him to a bed so that he could go out and impersonate him in the football game to catch the killer. And it's like, dude, so there's kidnapping, there's drugging, there's all kinds of stuff happening.
Abducted world leaders to stop World War II.
And throwing gangsters out of the 97th floor window because they wouldn't tell him what he wanted to hear. Golden Age Superman was a thug, but go ahead.
100%.
Go ahead.
Yeah, but Erik, it's like what you're saying. It literally is. It's like Superman evergreen. It kind of taps into every element, the cartoons, the Christopher Reeve, films, everything that we love about him in any medium, this has its kind of moment in the sun, but in a modern package, right? That's why it works, because it's old school without feeling dated.
Yeah. And also, you know, Mr. Terrific is the character find of 2025. So, you know, if they don't turn around and give that guy like an HBO Max show, they're missing a trick.
But does he play as a main character? Because he's a really, really good straight man. He's a fantastic straight man. In this film, he's great. But does he carry a movie as the title character?
Oh no, on a show. And what you do is you make him as the straight man, and Plastic Man becomes the punchline delivery system. So.
True, because of their relationship going back in the comics. And Plastic Man's an ex-criminal, an ex-con, right? Speaking of kind of what Brennan said, he's one of those superheroes with an edge. Some of them have it, some of them don't. So that's a good contrast. But Steve, obviously, I know you have plenty of thoughts because, and I'm not even trying to hijack here, but I always, when I think of this movie, I just think of kind of what I alluded to earlier. It's the James Gunn factor, right?
It's 100% that.
It has to be, yeah.
The feeling you get watching this movie makes you feel good, makes you feel bad, makes you understand, gives you some vulnerability into the character where you can connect with them, which is a very James Gunn feature in his, main characters, that you can relate to them. He understands that. I think that's a very strong play with this. I hated the casting. That was me personally. A lot of people liked it. Some people didn't.
What did you not like in particular, like across the board, or was there anything in particular, like any character that you didn't feel at all?
There's a reason why Tony Stark is Tony Stark throughout the MCU the exact same way. He's played by Robert Downey Jr. from the beginning to the end, feels the same, is that guy. He's the Superman, in this case, he's the Iron Man. Yeah. We keep changing Batmans and Supermans in the DCU, and
so it's hard for traction.
It gives no consistency, so therefore everything stands alone and feels like it's its own thing. I understand this is a reboot, totally get it, but didn't love this casting. Thought there was a variety of different people that could have been cast for this. I would argue you could still have had Cavill play Superman, and I think him playing Soups here would have probably portrayed even better because he plays a better angry Superman. That's a tough one, right? That's a tough thing to do. Just like we really liked, a certain Batman because it's someone that could be just as, fun and playful and snarky and, direct and turn right back around and deliver a absolute sinister line that makes you feel like.
Which Batman is that?
Is that what, Keaton? Because that's probably
Keaton's the one that can shift gears for sure.
Yeah, because Keaton's the only one who's somewhat humorous. None of the other ones are humorous.
That's what I'm saying. Is he could shift gears.
I'm very funny.
Yeah.
But I will tell you this:
the vote.
The Christian Bale Batman did have some moments of that where he portrayed vulnerability.
Oh, 100%. Right. He was the best. He was the best vulnerable Batman.
So from that standpoint,
Batman, he's vulnerable Batman, Keaton's brooding Batman, and Pattinson's detective Batman, young upstart Batman. Yeah.
Again, we're constantly moving and changing these, and ultimately that I feel like has a little bit of a problem with it because this to me is not a Superman that I can believe in is going to be Superman for a long time.
Really?
This will not be your Superman for a long time. It'll change.
So you don't think that, but that's also kind of a reflection of where this DC universe is going. Because there's no way James Gunn is recasting him. So you're basically saying that James Gunn DCU is eventually going to get rebooted,
or they're going to move away from Superman and go into the other character line
and stick with the new Batman, Brave and the Bold.
If I was DC, me personally, I would be moving into character arcs with the villains. And I would base my stuff off of the villains because we've seen that in the DC universe, their villains carry a heavier weight than in other areas. And so you could build around those. Then you're not relying on this Superman to lead you as Superman the whole way. Instead, you're going the villain. Superman now comes as part of, the issue for the villain. I would almost like, I would run to a perspective of the villain's perspective and not the superhero perspective.
It's a good idea logically. I think they may be scared of it though, just because of what Sony's done with the Spider-Man things with their villain verse, and it's been an absolute just disaster.
Yeah,
but at the same time, the creative heads responsible in this, James Gunn, and everyone, even Peter Safran, everyone involved, I think they have a much better idea than what Sony's trying to do. So I do think if you were to try to gamble with that or experiment, you have a much better group of people to do it with. So it's definitely a better idea to partner with them.
Well, and this is so now go back to Guardians really quick, because we're talking about James Gunn, right?
Yeah.
So go back to Guardians really quick. And the thing was that these were characters that you didn't know much about for the most part.
At
right?
all.
They made them super relatable, right? Everybody became super relatable. Like as much of a, asshole in a way that Gamora is when you're first introduced to her, you realize how much of a vulnerability really is there and how much insight to her and how much depth that character has. So he does a great job with that, with his character build and character base when he's, doing it. The problem is that works with Guardians because it's all over the place, right? You got Drax and there's Groot and there's, the different characters, plus even some of the villainous characters or side characters have some of that feel to them, right? Whereas in this movie, it was so hedged around.
I'm sorry. No, I was going to say, you don't think Superman's vulnerability makes him more relatable? I mean,
yeah, I think
you get your ass handed to you.
I think that's what this movie hit out of the park. I think the one thing that the Snyderverse missed is that they try to make Superman too edgy, too dark, too badass. That's not Superman. If you want the badass stuff, go to Batman. You want a good, clean-cut, golden boy type of who actually kind of does have a punchable face, and his face gets punched a lot. But in the end, ultimately, it's an alien who's trying to become a human. Where most superheroes are humans trying to accept that they're now godlike. This is a godlike being trying to accept that they're now in a human world. And I think that's what this movie does, as well as since the Christopher Reeve, Richard Donner film.
I love
and that's a great point that Paul just made, though, is that this film opens up with Superman getting absolutely just stomped, and you don't see that because the trope that they keep leaning on is that Lex Luthor finds a new kind of kryptonite, and that's what makes Superman weak for a minute, but the Superman figures it out. This is something that, and I'm not going to give any spoilers here, but this is something that Superman cannot figure out because it is alien, like he is alien, and it is something that legitimately humbles him, and you don't get that in most Superman stories.
Yeah, it was nice to see that level of humility because finally we see the son of Krypton basically just getting his ass whooped like he's just an everyday, like he's John McClane, right? Like it's just, and that's what's so cool about it. But what were you going to say, Steve?
Now I have a gun.
Yeah, right.
Well,
exactly.
I think I'm more leaning to the fact that the strength of the character set around when it's Superman, it's just Superman. Right. Whereas when we go to Guardians or we go to some of these other productions that James Gunn's been involved with, he's got this variety of lead characters that you're giving this to. So then what happens is that their interpersonal relations become relatable for you. Yeah. Again, I'm not saying this is a bad thing. I liked this Superman, right? And I loved that they incorporated crypto, right? I thought that was just so much fun. Because that's something that we haven't seen, right?
Great Silver Age element. And at the very end, with what we have with Supergirl coming out, having her little cameo, that was a good, world building
and so when you get those, that's great. And it's almost like this version of Superman is going to be so much better of a Justice League presentation that I feel like this Superman leading a Justice League movie, a cinematic set is going to be so much better than what we've seen in the past, because it's not going to be about those individualized characters just being so character strong.
Yeah.
I am this character and that's who I am. It's not just going to be about that. It's going to actually, part of the reasons why Avengers was so relatable for people is because they're in a teamwork atmosphere and they're having the same conflict that you have in your teamwork atmosphere and whatever you do, whether it's Paul doing comedy somewhere or, you guys, pushing out articles and stuff with what you're doing and the different conflicts and conversations and stuff that happen internally. It's the same style thing. There's joking on one side, there's serious on another. There's one person that's upset about what the rest of the team wants to do.
Yeah.
Like all of those intricate things are all emotional that pull onto the emotion portion of what we do.
And that's what the Snyderverse movies lack. I think the casting for the Snyder, the DC films, for the in the past phase or the past canon was outstanding. That's why I loved Cavill. Affleck was phenomenal. I love Batfleck.
Yeah.
But the guy leading the way, Snyder, it's almost like I read a great quote one time. It's as if he never really understood Batman or Superman. He just read Frank Miller a bunch of times, got really excited about it, and said, oh, we're going to do this and make it in the same presentation as 300 or Watchmen, which were really cool adaptations of comic books that it seemed like he understood a lot more. But this, he just seemed to not understand the source material. Whether you like the casting or not, you will even admit this, Steve. James Gunn is passionate. He's a diehard, and he understands the material he's really dealing with because he liked Guardians of the Galaxy, right? That was cool to him. Superman, he absolutely adores and loves. There's a reason why he wanted to go to DC.
Yeah.
Even if the Suicide Squad was his way in, this is what he really wanted to do. So I love that this movie has an element of heart to it, right? It feels like the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, or even the early Tim Burton Batman movies with Michael Keaton, and now what we're getting with the Robert Pattinson, Matt Reeves Batman. It feels like there's an element of love to it behind it.
And I wouldn't say you're wrong. I simply I feel like this casting of Superman.
Oh, that's fair.
This Superman could have been done a little better as far as Superman goes, in my opinion.
Okay, you're fired.
But with that said,
I think it's a whack take, but I like the fact that
wait, hang on. Just the amount of time that we've given this title versus the previous two, the amount of time that we have spent talking about this title right here just shows me how much more important of a superhero film this one is than the other two. Straight up.
That's exactly what I said when we were coming out of the last one. This was by far, in my opinion, the best of them this year.
Every other film that we're going to talk about, we have two more to talk about, I think, but every other film that we talk about has its points. But I think as far as a whole piece, this one stands out.
Yeah, so that answered my next question before we segue to the next one, because I was wondering, can we just go ahead and give this the superhero movie of the year? So there you go, we do. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and when we get to the comic of the year, there was no question, because when I was texting you guys trying to put this together, everybody said the same thing immediately. So there's not even a conversation, and everybody probably already knows because we talk about it a bunch. But what's the next film, Erik?
So the next film is Fantastic Four: First Steps. Let's see. I love the world that they created so much that I'm annoyed the next time we see these characters, they're in the usual MCU. Like,
right.
Why spend all that time world building if you're just going to transplant these characters to a environment that people are really tired of?
Yeah.
That said, I did go to the set of this movie, and it was pretty.
Oh, was this was one of the Doctor Who visits?
It was one of those Doctor Who things. Yeah,
That's
awesome.
It
was actually the Fantastic Four, and that set was super cool. There's a photo of me hugging Herbie that the publicist was supposed to send me, and it never appeared. And,
we got to get that photo.
And I've got to get a hold of it, right?
Well, it's because Herbie was making inappropriate hand signals behind your back that they couldn't.
Right, exactly. That's exactly what Herbie was doing.
Damn you, Herbie.
Or it was looked at and they're like, don't make sure that one's not distributed.
Right.
Exactly.
I have a question.
I watched this streaming. I didn't get to see it in the theaters, but I loved this film, and I loved it because the Fantastic Four has always been that spite film where they were making it to keep the rights and whatever. They were never going to make a marketable film, and this is the first marketable film that they've ever made, and it was good. It wasn't amazing, but it was good. And I there's some things about it that I loved. There's a couple things that I didn't like so much, but the thing that confused me the most is I could not figure out who Johnny was for the longest time. I was like, why does that kid look so familiar, but not? Because that's Eddie Munson with short blonde hair, but like he's playing a serious role instead of that like over the top like comedic role or whatever. And it's like it took me a while to get it, and then when I did, I kept wanting to do this and like stick his tongue out. But I liked it. It's a solid movie. It's not the best, but it's way better than anything that's ever been made with the Fantastic Four in the film space today.
It understood the assignment. It did.
It's also a Fantastic Four movie where Johnny gets to do something smart.
Finally, and
super important to the fact that he got to figure the signal out. I was just like, wow, no one has ever understood the Human Torch the way this group of people do.
And super critical to the plot.
Is he smart in the comics? Is he like underrated smart in the comics?
Sort of. It's
Yeah.
it's the
He like plays it off.
Have a smart idea.
And it just
He
goes
plays
to
it
show,
off to where he's not the intelligent one, but then he's the one that always comes up with the thing that like goes, oh yeah,
All
that will
four-
work.
all four of them have a
Or is he like
brain that
accidentally
they could
smart, like
use.
the redhead on Scooby Doo? Because like
Yeah.
Velma is book smart, but the redhead always figures out like the little twist that needs to happen.
Exactly.
Yeah, right. You need the dumbass to fill in the blanks. The next thing you know, they're the secret ingredient. But Steve, I'm going to ask you this because one of the first times I joined you guys, even when this was a different show, on a different platform, when I first kind of got talking with you, Paul and Brendan, about stuff like this, you said, because it was right after the initial teaser came out, and they did a lot of marketing, a lot of promotion, a lot of innovative ways. Actually, they really upped the ante for their marketing. Almost was Avengers-esque in the way they promoted this movie, and I understand why. But you said initially, I remember this vividly, you were not excited for it at all. As we got closer, did you find yourself getting more excited? And by the time you watched it, did you feel yourself immersed? Because I will say, Brendan, I think, nailed it. I think it was a good movie that almost maybe they even had impossible expectations because we've been waiting so long for a great Fantastic Four movie. But I think with what it needed to do, it absolutely knocked it out of the park, because I think every cast and selection, even though in the moment it seemed weird, wound up nailing it, filling the role perfectly. And I think, as Erik alluded to, the aesthetic, that's what really did it. How immersive it felt. It felt like you were finally in a different world, and it felt so much more polished than anything else that they've presented in recent years, really. But I ask you, like, did you find yourself invested in those elements that I just laid out, or did you kind of just feel yourself obligated to watch it because it's a big movie, and you being in the nerd media, obviously you're going to have to see it?
Leading into it, that was 100% it. It was just,
Right.
I'm going to watch it just to see. Right. But in reality, I think the biggest thing and we got to give credit where credit is due.
Yeah.
Pedro Pascal is a very, very good actor. Like, very good actor. He
makes Cursed Richards seem likable.
Yes.
Almost
And
impossible task.
Yes.
the thing is that he is one of those, like, he's the element to this movie that I think really pulled it together, because I feel like they've really missed in their pre-marketing.
Mhm.
This should have been pitched as, you are getting a whole new universe. You are getting a whole new set from the Fantastic Four's point of view, right? Because I would hope that when they go to do X-Men, that we get that type of feeling, that we are going to get this, tied in universe that's going to come from that perspective of the X-Men. And that should have been, because they did it, right? That was the thing, is that they actually delivered that, but going into it, you had no idea. So I was pleasantly surprised of the whole, everything. Sometimes, because of, you're only getting 2 hours on the screen, you only put so much together. There are, things that get skipped and missed a little bit. And some of the character set that they could have included, I think they kind of held back because they felt like, hey, we've got more editions of this to do. And rightfully so.
Yeah.
I think, you don't want to put everything out all at once. But overall, I thought it was done well. One thing I don't like about it, again, it just doesn't feel that way with me. The scaling of the character of the Thing is just not right to me.
Mm-hmm.
He's not just a human that's a rock. Like, he's bigger than that.
Right.
And he needs to have that presentation. And that was the one knock that I'll give this.
I also think, Steve, that he was underutilized as a character. I don't think they tapped into Ben Grimm enough. I think they loosely alluded to it with the Yancey Street stuff, kind of gave him a romantic interest, but the romantic interest wasn't really pivotal to the plot. If you're going to do that, really go and do it. They kind of tiptoed around it, but slightly referenced it. I agree with you in the fact that he didn't really look the part, and I don't think they necessarily... the casting, I think, was great, but they didn't necessarily fill the void that the Thing needed to fill as well as they did with Reed, with Susan, being the parents.
Do you know why Thanos worked so well?
Because he was imposing, for one.
Exactly. Yeah. Because he was a larger than life character.
Right.
That wasn't grossly bigger than everyone else.
Yeah.
Right. but they presented him that way. When you get these characters like this, the reason why the current Hulk in the MCU works for us is because sizing.
Well,
he's
look
not
at this.
tiny.
For the video audience right now, if you're listening, obviously you don't have an idea, but if you're watching,
you can go look at it.
Look at this exactly, and look at this image. Reed Richards looks taller than Ben Grimm. I just feel it should have worked that way. And even if he looks taller, he shouldn't look the same figure. This kind of just looks like Eben Moss Bachrach slightly puffed out with like rock form. And I don't think it looks bad. I don't think it's necessarily bad CGI. I think, like what you said, the scaling's all off. And I think it sucks because
wasn't it practical effects for like the prosthetics? No,
this time around.
That
was
for the Michael Chiklis one.
The first Michael Chiklis.
Right?
No, so the thing that I was thinking about the build of the thing was like Michael Chiklis was perfect for his size because he was a short spark plug of a dude, and he really filled that role. I think one of the interesting things that I saw on the discourse about this was that, Silver Surfer's a woman. Why? And it's like, do you not realize the Herald is a position, not a person?
Exactly.
Have you ever read a comic?
For thousands and thousands and thousands of years. Like, of course, there are going to be different Silver Surfers. And I thought the way they utilized the Surfer and having Johnny, again, have his chance to shine, interacting with the Silver was a highlight of the film. And I thought if maybe you just gave Ben Grimm a little bit more of that shine, it would have been perfect, because I love the acting that we got and the vulnerability that we got from that actor. But it's just,
I think one of the greatest lines too that came out of this like really made me like, wow, that's a really good like description of like who the Fantastic Four are as a family is. We won't sacrifice our baby for this world, but we're also not going to sacrifice the world for our baby. And it was like, damn, that's intense.
And what did we all think? And Paul, I'll ask you, because I believe you saw the movie. What did you think of finally getting to see Galactus? Like, I know we all have takes on that, right? Because like we finally got to see a good Galactus, or at least what we thought should be a good Galactus.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it could have used a little bit more nudity, but other than that,
there you go. There you go.
Very happy.
Well, Erik, do you think they nailed it? I mean, I think Rhys Ifans was perfect for the voice, but the scaling. A lot of people thought the scaling was a little off in the final scene.
For the Eater of Worlds,
you go back to that trilogy of Fantastic Four issues, and it's like Kirby is playing with the scale of Galactus basically on every page.
Right.
It's so hard to say exactly how tall he is, because you're basically waiting until John Byrne to tell you how tall he actually is.
Yeah, exactly. Like he goes from a guy who's basically just like the Empire State Building could essentially go up to his chest, but then before, when you see him, it looks like he could swallow a planet. Right.
Yeah.
Right, but how many characters do that where they make themselves fit the situation? Like Martian Manhunter, like there's so many that like, how big are they? Well, he's 6'4" in this scene, but then he grows to do whatever he needs to do. I mean, that's not out of the round. I mean, we're talking about comics here, man. You can make them do whatever they want. 100%. The dude is the Eater of Worlds. He can make himself 100 feet tall or 11 billion feet tall. It doesn't matter, because he is an entity and not a man.
Well, especially with the cosmic, right? Celestials, like we've seen the different like god tier like villains and heroes. Dormammu, Ego, and Guardians of the Galaxy, literally a planet, like a living planet. So I completely agree with you. I was more so wondering what you guys were thinking, because I know a lot of people complained about it, but I thought that was kind of cool. It was cool when you first see Galactus look like a true like deity, however it's pronounced, and then deity, and then next time you see him, he just looks more like a kaiju. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and the fact that it is comic accurate, or at least comic accurate to John Byrne's take on Galactus, because I've always been fond of Jack Kirby putting him in short pants and short sleeves. Yeah. So even when I was on set, I asked the producers, hey, are we going to get short pants? And he immediately cackled like, no, you're not getting that.
And I will say, how cool is it as us as nerds and people who just love the medium and its history, right? How cool is it to have that Kirby quote in the end? That was awesome.
Right? Yeah.
Because it's almost like Kirby is like, we know Stan Lee was such an ambassador for everything Marvel, and he was interjected in the MCU. Kirby, you only really get in the credits of these MCU films, and that's only if it's a character that he created, right? If it's a more modern character, you don't even get that. So it was cool to finally really get to see him get some tribute there.
And that nice little cameo with him in the office, like when Silver Surfer first appears. Yes. Like I was really that really warmed my heart to see.
Good fan service.
I thought that was probably one of the best things that was done with this.
Yeah,
was that they kind of continued that Stan Lee led making cameos about his own thing, and It's neat because it's a cameo that if you're casual, you might not even realize it, you know. But if you're a comic fan, you're 100% like,
is Ditko alive? Was that done digitally or is that real?
That's not Ditko.
Wait,
Kirby.
what?
It's
Kirby. Is Kirby?
Yeah.
Is Kirby alive?
No, we lost Kirby, I think, in the early mid 90s.
Mid 90s. Yeah.
So they did a like a digital cameo as a tribute.
Sorry, I mean it's some guy playing.
Yeah. It's not.
But
It's
the inclusion.
It's a wink.
Right?
It's a nod. It's not.
Yeah, I totally missed it.
the
That's a
character-
neat little thing
it
that I
like-
would go back and look for.
It breaks that fourth wall for a moment, right? It breaks that fourth wall for just a moment, which is what I think is some of the magic in these comic related movies, is that they'll break that fourth wall just to take a sliver of a moment and give that to the real fan base, right? And then they're back out of it, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's the Stan eating popcorn, you know, or whatever, and then boom, he's gone, and that's
100%.
it, right?
It's like an Infinity War. Literally, aliens are visiting the planet to collect these rocks, and Stan Lee's driving a school bus, and everyone loses their mind. It just works. I have to ask you guys this because I've actually really wanted to ask you guys this question because we haven't really, since so many of these movies came out in the first, half of the year. Superman came, and this came out in July. We haven't gotten anything since then, so we haven't really gotten to talk about this too much on the show recently. Maybe the source material, but not the movies. What do you guys think this does moving forward? Because other than the Thunderbolt scene, which spoiler alert alludes to this, now this is really the only setup we've truly gotten in terms of the actual plot of Doomsday. Are you satisfied with how it's set it up based off the credit scene, based off the fact we didn't get a Dr. Doom, but we knew he was lurking, and they kind of wink referenced Latveria and Victor Von Doom? Are you excited for Doomsday in the same way after Civil War and Black Panther and Ragnarok you were for Infinity War? Steve, you're shaking your head. So I'm not.
I'm very disappointed with how they have created this lead up to Doomsday.
Mm-hmm.
It is poorly executed, in my opinion. The teasers that we've gotten, the set pictures and all this stuff, they leak out. Let's be fair, they leak that stuff out.
Oh, hell yeah.
Those things,
the concept art,
just
are you kidding me?
So poorly done, that I have real questions about this Doomsday's execution and what it's going to be. And as more that I've seen, the more that I've seen them utilizing this to kind of be a springboard to that and so on, I'm starting to question if they went the right way and didn't just do this the way that I thought they should have in the first place. Again, it's just my opinion, right? That it should have been a Secret Wars movie that introduced, Doom to the MCU side of things. And instead, we're getting this whole introduction before he ever graces the so that mystery of a character. This is what I say where Star Wars gets it right, is that whenever they can bottle Boba Fett into a character and give you mystery and that type thing, would be there. The casual person doesn't have mystery into Doom. Oh, Doom's a bad guy. Oh, he's got. Well, the only mystery is everybody's like, why is Robert Downey Jr. playing two characters?
Mm-hmm.
It's a casting question. That's not the movie.
With Thanos, we got him in a post-credit scene. We got him in Guardians kind of lurking in the background, and he was alluded to in several other movies. So you wanted that lack of clarity. You wanted him shrouded, but you wanted to know he was there.
And then when you got him,
you're not even cognizant Doom's there. Yeah,
he was. Look, he was a bad guy that you could kind of relate with his logic, and you could understand what his intentions were and all this. And we got that because of those small iterations in where it's almost like, you're an irritant, leave me alone. You're really bothering me, leave me alone. I told you, stop bothering me. I sent someone to go cause problems for you so you'd stop bothering me. And you're still bothering me. So now I'm pissed.
You felt his agitation as I don't want.
Well, now I'm starting to identify with Doom, because that's a lot of the things that I deal with in a day. Is why are you calling me? Why are you texting me? Why are you emailing me? This meeting could have been a fist fight.
like this Doom that we're getting at this point is coming off very like dog and pony show. Like we just want to parade him in front of you to keep your interest rather than build the interest to it. I'd tell you now, I would have done the entire first trailer and I would have not put anything with Doom in it at all.
Right.
Not a thing. I would have put people talking about it, the problems that are causing, how he's such a menace. All of those things would have been in there. I would have put some type of fight scene that had to do with his henchmen and not him.
Well, remember when when that D23 footage leaked and we got to see a glimpse of Thanos, who we had already seen before, and we knew Thanos was so imposing and authoritative because the way people alluded to him, we're all like, okay, this is clearly taking place in a 616 universe in a galaxy that clearly belongs to Thanos, even if we haven't really seen him do his thing yet. Doom, we don't really know why he's so powerful, what the multiversal element is, what the connection to Franklin is. And I know their logic is, well, that's why you're going to tune into Doomsday. But at the same time, we didn't have these type of questions when we were on the eve or on the doorstep of Infinity War. And that's what leads me to kind of full circle, because I know we had to move on to what Erik said about, are we going to jump ship from this universe, this, you know, this futuristic type of retro universe, the retro futuristic universe that we love so much from this film, and we see the setup for the next multiverse clash with the Avengers. Are we going to just jump to 616? I feel the only way you could do this justice is if you make a considerable part of Doomsday take place in this universe that gradually leads into 616, as opposed to just the Fantastic Four popping up. Now, like, I feel that's the only approach to take.
I will say that, you know, when Erik said that, my immediate thought was, no, Doom goes into their universe and takes something, does something, causes something, and leaves it. And they're like, hold on. No, you don't get to leave. We're going to go find you. I think that might be, and that would be a perfect, like, integrated into it. Like, almost it picks up on the back end of this movie.
That's what I hope.
And then he comes in, right? Which, look, that's what circled us back to the fight in New York, right?
100%.
Because ultimately we got that introduction there in the fight of New York, and then there were these storylines that, like, all of a sudden it's like, no, we're going back and we're starting there and recreating that. Like that, I totally like that type of recycling of that makes sense, because it allows you to then truly tie those two timelines together, but no, they're separate, right? That's why we understood in Endgame that here comes Thanos with all of these aliens from his universe into the Wakanda, you know.
And it also, because when you look at Infinity War, we started with the characters who we knew we had the stones. We didn't start with Iron Man. We didn't start with Captain America. We started with the Thors and the Lokis. We started with Strange, right? We emphasized what Wanda and Vision were doing, what the Guardians were doing. That was the crux of the movie. And then in Endgame, you get to more of the OG characters and their personal turmoil and bringing their story full circle. But Infinity War, you had to go with, even if we've only seen Strange like once or twice, you had to go to the Sanctum Sanctorum, because for one, it's a badass call back to the actual Jim Starlin Infinity Gauntlet comic, with, instead of the Silver Surfer crashing through the window, it's the Hulk. But it's a perfect way to get the ball rolling, because he's the one who has what Thanos is looking for. Iron Man doesn't matter until a few minutes later.
All right, so Brendan is doing everything he can to talk about this next film. So we're going to move on to it. And Erik, what is the final film?
Final film, right? But before I do that, I want to do a couple of honorable mentions, because these were comic movies that were released this year, but they're not superheroes, and I haven't seen them yet. So Red Sonja, I am going to watch it sometime this week. They did a remake of Deathstalker that's loosely based on the Vault comic, and so I'm putting that on the list too, and I am going to sit down and watch it sometime this week. And then a movie called Afterburn with Dave Bautista. It's based on a Red 5 comic that exists. So there you go.
So this would be the second film that Bautista has been in, right? Because he's only ever done Guardians
of the Galaxy.
That was this one, yes.
That was the debate of the year for the record. As we look back, that was definitely the debate of the year. The Dave Bautista should have been the undisputed guy, and he in the bracket. He wasn't even a number one seed in the bracket.
And this last movie isn't directly based on a comic, but it feels like reading a Predator comic from Dark Horse in like the late 90s. So Predator Badlands, I'm adding to this list because it has that feel. It has that texture. It's everything you love about this.
Well, they did say that some of this Predator storyline stuff was being pulled from comic books.
It's very, very loosely Alien versus Predator. In as much as your Predator main character, female co-lead, the difference here is the co-lead's a robot.
Maybe it's the meat itself.
Eric, would you? Good to know. Paul,
Oh, mute your mic, bud.
Good to know.
Paul Vato, mute your mic.
Thanks, buddy.
Mute your mic, Paul. We don't want to hear from you, Paul.
Paul has his own takes. He's all like, let these nerds discuss all
He's
that.
talking about
Business.
Yeah, I'm trying to feed my mother. Sorry.
That's fair. No, by all means, tell her we said hi and tell her she's welcome to join in and give her takes.
Hello,
on Super
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Hey, you know what, Paul? This would be a great time. Let's ask your mom what she thought of the Predator movie.
Yes.
Mom, what did you think of the Predator movie that you have not seen?
I have not seen it.
She hasn't seen it. She's going back to her ice cream.
Okay.
That's a good one.
How is your morning and midday ice cream, Mom?
Hi. How's everybody?
Good. How's your ice cream?
Good.
Oh,
Good.
it's delicious.
What flavor we got?
Vanilla.
Oh, classic.
Oh,
Can't beat
that's
it.
Can I be honest with you guys real quick?
Number one in the
This
country.
is
for a
already
reason.
so much more enjoyable than when Paul's on.
Yeah, no, we should just have Mama Rodriguez on instead of Paul for our fifth head. Yeah.
Get Mama's commentary. Yep.
Absolutely.
She's not saying no. So
Yeah, right. She's down to hijack.
She's nodding like she agrees, like she knows that this is better than when Paul is on.
This is the top
All right.
line content.
All right, Mom.
This is where the podcast goes.
She just became my favorite new person.
you got to go back to bed.
I want to,
right.
and it's always so great to get a Mama Rodriguez cameo. But let me ask you guys this really quick. In between this and the show that's now out, what is it, Predator Alien Earth? In between what they're doing with Alien Earth and this, Eric, because I know you're a fan of both. Do you think this is kind of like a revitalization? Because obviously there was a stretch there kind of from Prometheus to Romulus where things got a little polarizing for Alien, and Predator was kind of dormant until Prey came out on Hulu and was like, wow, this is awesome. Do you think we're kind of seeing a renaissance? Brendan, like you even tell me. Do you think we're seeing like a renaissance with these canons?
Dude, I loved Prey. Prey, but the concept of this one throws me out of the Predator canon because it's, the thing is they're these misunderstood monsters. They have their culture, which is very like warrior culture or whatever.
Yeah.
And they don't see humans as intelligent creatures or whatever. They see humans as prey, which has been the entire premise. So now you've got this alien, this Yautja, who is cooperating with a human for whatever it is. And I haven't seen this film yet, but just the concept itself kind of throws me because
I can help you though, Brendan. She's not human.
Go ahead.
She's not human.
Well, shit, Eric, why didn't you tell me that 3 months ago?
I would have seen
actually,
it by now.
in fairness, before you started talking on this, when Eric introduced it, he actually referenced the fact that she is a robot.
Well, I wasn't paying attention.
What do you want?
I mean, you know what? To be Paul, this is a great opportunity for you here to remind Brendan that this is not the first time he hasn't paid attention. In fact, most of the time he doesn't. Is that correct, Paul?
Yeah, my mom goes, duh, she's a robot. Like even she was listening. So yeah.
Come on.
Right, Mom?
Get with
She's
it.
a robot.
Get with it.
Wait, but where do you order
Yeah,
this model of robot? Because Paul needs to know.
Already in his search history, bro. Oh my gosh. Guys, real quick, new segment for the show. Paul Vato's search history.
Oh boy.
Oh my god.
Oh boy.
That's an
Absolutely
NC-17
not.
segment.
Yeah.
That's
Banned.
for the Patreon. That
Banned
is definitely a
from
Patreon thing.
banned from the internet forever. This pod.
Absolutely not.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, I could imagine.
All right, so somebody who's seen the film talk about it because I'm done.
Erik, go on a diatribe.
Well, the thing is, the only person who's seen it.
I haven't seen it yet. I've wanted to, but I'll be honest. You were the first person who really kind of convinced me because I saw the marketing. I thought looks kind of cool. Don't know if I'll watch it. You telling me how kind of like how we were talking about how the films before had an element of heart to them because it showed care. Basically, from what you've made it sound like, this taps into that. Like the people responsible for this knew what they were dealing with.
Yeah, no, the love that this is the same director as Prey. The love that he has for Predator that's even greater than the original creators. You know, it is astounding to see him come in and basically whisper this thing back to life because the Predator was dead after the Predator.
Yeah,
you know, it's sort of amazing to see him come and breathe life into it because he clearly also read the comics. You know, like. The fact that that's a non-zero portion of this is kind of amazing to me too. And why I have it here, it's because it's honoring the energy of those 90s Predator comics.
Yeah. Steve, have you haven't seen it yet?
I have not seen it, but I did watch a lot of times on movies that I don't go see. I will go and catch like someone who does a review of it, but a review with clips, right?
Yeah.
And the one thing that I saw that I thought was the best, I thought this was the best like prosthetics character adaptations of the Predator as far as what we've gotten in movies, right? Because I know they've used some of the same styling in the shows or whatever. But the fact that the heads move a lot more freely, right? And it gives the actions of the the actor inside the suit has a much better portraying of that character because they can move and be more active and everything. A lot of times you had the fight scenes where they had to cut them away because everything was so stiff, you know? So the fact that they could do that, I thought was really cool. This had a little bit of my take was a little bit of that Game of Thrones action to it, which I thought was cool because it gives a very realistic look at can be a little bit more real. Whereas I felt like some of the Predator stuff in the past, it's like, here's humans like shooting their machine guns. And then all of a sudden it's like this Predator has like some, worldly weapon that is just so much greater than everything else, which is fine and overpowering. But it looks so cinematically like this is from the 70s. This is current. Like it doesn't necessarily work in the same spot, in the same place, and the same thing. So I thought that was done better. And I think a lot of that probably has to do with how well the MCU has been able to execute that. And, now, because I think, the thing that we need to point out, this is a Disney owned property, right? So because Predator and Alien are now owned by Disney, they can use some of the elements from the different studio productions that they've done to incorporate into some of these things. And we've seen that with some of these, movies and stuff when it can all be kind of incorporated in. I remember when the Star Wars sounds could now be used in the Marvel universe. And it was first in that, Thor Dark, what was the name of that movie?
The Dark World?
The Dark World, right? Was the first time that they used the sounds that came from the Star Wars, like sound base, right? Of the ships flying and stuff like that. So when you can utilize those elements, it really adds that production, value is up. Yeah. And so I think from that standpoint, I think that that's one of the things that really stood out from what I could see about this, which makes it to where, I will eventually watch this movie because what I watched in review was very interesting and I thought it was very cool. I just haven't, unfortunately, this year, I have not taken a lot of time to watch most of any movies.
And Brendan said in the comments, it's not even streaming yet, right? Because it still came out recently enough to where it's not out for. Okay, so there you go. So I'm eagerly waiting it.
Well, I mean, you can stream it, but not on like Hulu and stuff like that. You can stream it at home on AMC Cinema, Fandango, Atom.
Yeah, you could buy or rent it, but you can't just get it based off your subscription, which was so cool about Prey. Because you just turn on Hulu one day, you're like, whoa, what's this? And you may have seen a commercial or two. Next thing you know, you watch it, you're like, this is awesome. Like if you had never seen a Predator movie, before, or even if they had never made a Predator movie.
If you've
And
never
that
seen a
was like-
Predator movie, I don't want to talk to you. There's no conversation.
That's true too. But I'm saying that's why I kind of like altered it to where, let's say they had never made anything Predator before that, and Prey was the first thing they ever made. You would think that was like the coolest original idea like they've made in years for a movie. So like that,
Well,
the fact that it felt that original for something that was from the 80s, I thought was awesome. So I'm happy to see if they're continuing that, like Erik says with this. I'm all in.
and I know this is an unpopular view, but I enjoyed AVP. I thought that was it
was fun. It was fun.
It was a stupid idea that somehow worked, because it's just like, what do you want from these franchises other than them slashing each other apart and just like mayhem? And that's what you got from start to finish, is absolute mayhem.
Know your audience. I like sometimes you just have to take the action figures and just, like be a kid and collide them together. That's just what you have to do as a kid, like blang, 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 like you used to do. And that's sometimes it works.
Pretty funny. All right.
Is that the segment? Are we done?
We run through the synopsis of the year in movies. And as Erik mentioned, there were more movies out there that did have, a base of comic books to it.
Went a full 12 rounds with that one.
I think what we're going to do is we're going to be going to break. And when we come back, we're going to be talking about a few things. One of them is that we're going to tie in the holiday movie plots, but they're going to be described a little differently. And then we are going to look at Paul Vato's comic keys for December. So come stick around with us. We'll be back here in just a minute. This is C3 Pod.
Peppermint Patty's the worst. Comic-Con.com, your daily comic convention online. Insightful reviews, previews of the comics, toys, and games you need to know. Delightful chats with luminaries from around the geek spectrum. In print, on video, and everywhere in between. The show never stops on Comic-Con.com.
And welcome back to the C3 Pod. This is our end of year C3 Pod. This is the final one before we go and celebrate the new year. We'll talk right at the very end, guys. We'll talk about what everyone's excited about for 2026. But in true end of year fashion, as we were closing out the other segment, I opened up a run of show that was from the last episode that we did. And so I started talking about that, which is, we've already done the holiday movie titles read poorly. We are actually doing the comic keys that are coming up, but we're really hitting base on the comic of the year to start this segment off, because we kind of polled everybody and said, hey, of the comic books that have come out this year, like, what's the one book? Is there one copy? Is there one edition? Is it number 7, number 8? Doesn't even matter. It could be just one individual book, or it could be a line. What's the one book that you thought was good? And Brendan, what happened when you asked that question?
It was unanimous. There's only one title that comes up, and it just heads and tails is Absolute Batman. And the thing is that Scott Snyder was doing the main line of this. It is a crossover the way crossovers are supposed to be done. It's kind of DC building off of the only good thing that came out of New 52, which was Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo Batman, where, Snyder was able to take this alternate universe and make it into this awesome thing. And, you've got a different origin story for Batman. You've got a different origin story for all of the villains, but they kind of have the same kind of interplay, but just very, very different scenarios. And it works so well, because Snyder just really has a brain for this to make it work. And it was so smart of DC to do it and to go back to the well, which, like I said, was the only thing that came out of New 52, and kind of like expand it into an event centered on the one thing that worked.
And instead of them going and giving us new character and then bringing in someone else referencing one of the old characters that we kind of understand and know, they really broke the mold by immediately going after all of the characters, right? Mm-hmm. So Absolute Batman then spawned Absolute Superman, Absolute Wonder Woman, Absolute Flash, Absolute Martian Manhunter, right? That those all spawned those, and then those stories all have their arc with their nemesises and with their people being introduced, and they have not held back on the Batman line. And it's not until this most recent number 16 that we're being introduced to a crossover of one of those superheroes, which is Wonder Woman and Batman, being crossed over. But the introduction of the characters, the way they've done it, and creating a completely different arc, they have 100% gone a completely different way right? You know, and I love that, you know, from the way they wrote it, one of the things that you had in the solicit writing here, this is Bruce Wayne is not a billionaire. He's a blue-collared civil engineer who grew up in a crime alley and is in working class parents. Dude, he's a trash man. Like, let's talk about what that really is. He's a trash man, and the Batmobile is a dump truck.
Yeah.
Like, that gives you enough indication that this is new, this is different, this is unique, and the characters that have come out of it, the portrayal of the protagonists are different. And so you can't sit there and say, you know, when I say Batman and the Joker, Paul, you would say what? He would say silence.
Yep.
He would remain silent.
Absolutely. Batman and the Joker. I mean, what do you mean? What I would say? Like,
what's your first impression of Batman and Joker?
Yeah, right. They're rivals. The Joker is kind of you know, his mind is like trying to outsmart Batman and, you know, do things that
they're literally the classic, most obvious embodiment of foil characters you could possibly like imagine.
Right.
You know, yeah, like that.
Right. But in the introduction in 15 of Absolute Joker, and Paul, you just held the comic up. Paul is now reading this line. He's a monster. It's a completely different storyline. These characters, as we know them, are not existing in this portion of the Batman universe. And it's great because they're new, they're fresh, they're different, they're interesting. And we can see from the sales side what's happening. And what I can tell you is this, is that Absolute Batman, up till about the announcement of Absolute Joker coming in, that book, a CGC 9.8 of this copy that's on the screen, was selling for around $100. And that book now sells for $300 to $350.
Wow.
Because this arc has pulled so many people into it that this line is by far outselling anything Marvel has out there.
Which in many ways is like a reflection of where we are in the Batman conversation. People want the fantastic out there, otherworldly elements, even though this is kind of gritty and grounded, it has a realistic tone. It's so much different than anything else we're getting. And people want that in every version of Batman they could possibly get across the media. They want that in the films, the live action. They want that in cartoons. They want that in comics. You're going to want that in toys. We've done the dark, gritty, brooding, realistic, hyper-realistic, immersed in our world type of thing. The fun thing about DC is that it's not in our world. We just discussed that with Superman. It looks real and it looks modern, but we know we're in Metropolis. That's what separates that from the Avengers, that we know we're in New York, where we see everyday Manhattan, right? Or everyday Queens. With Metropolis, you feel out of the blue. You're just kind of dropped in another world. With Gotham, with Matt Reeves, with what he's doing, you get that. Christopher Nolan's incredible, but outside of the first Batman Begins movie, like the second two movies of that trilogy, it's just aerial shots in New York and Pittsburgh and Hong Kong. It just feels like, you know, a guy in a bat suit in our everyday cities. What we want moving forward, I'm not going to speak for everybody, but it feels, at least collectively, that's what people want. They want the fantastical elements of Batman to be out there in comics, in movies, in TV shows, because with Superman, it works for DC. With Batman, it works for DC, and we haven't gotten it in a while. We want it.
One of the things that when Steve was talking initially that just made me think is I just watched a documentary about Nancy Kerrigan and Tanya Harding, and the whole thing was like, the guy who did the hit was like one of her bodyguards. And when they were sitting there at the end and they're like, well, who could have done it? And it's like, well, gee, do you think it's the 8 foot tall Jabba the Hutt looking dude standing next to her that might have done that? And when you're saying like, this is much more grounded, that his Batmobile is a garbage truck or whatever, it's like, well, who is the Bat? It's like, do you think it's maybe the 7 foot, 400 pound garbage man?
Like really, that doesn't bring it, like that doesn't, you know,
he's building gadgets out of trash. Our trash man is 8 feet tall.
Like, what else would he be doing? Brendan, which was it, the 30 for 30, or was it like a new documentary that came out?
Well, it was
that?
Red-Handed, so it's the two British
Okay.
ladies. I think I'm on like 2022, and they did a Nancy Kerrigan episode in 2022.
Because
So
anything involving that is like, it's like, ooh, give me. It's like it never gets old.
Ooh,
that
give
story.
me.
Ooh, give me, please.
But yeah,
Like,
giving
if
a shout out to Red-Handed.
Yeah.
I love those ladies so much. They're so funny. Their first episode that I ever listened to, they were trying to record and trying to check out the acoustics of a house they were in, and they accidentally locked themselves in the cupboard under the stairs, just like Harry Potter. In the cupboard under the stairs, they accidentally locked themselves in, and were recording as they were waiting for emergency services to come or somebody to find them so they could let them out, because you could only open this door from the outside.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And Steve, you laughed there, but the funny thing is you are you love chaos. You're an agent of chaos. Yeah, it doesn't get much
100%.
more chaotic, not to try to even pivot, than Tanya Harding and Nancy Kerrigan. So that's as good as it gets for me. But
that is
ultimately though, Absolute Batman, I love the fact that once I saw it on ROS, as Brendan said before, wasn't going to be surprised because we've talked about it so much on the show, but really just an absolute home run, because as like you said, Steve, with Marvel, I've said it time and time again. I probably use this every time, this phrase, every single time, like Brendan said, much about with what is it? What the balls tipped or cutting down the nets? Whenever we would talk March Madness in the show, you could keep a count. You could keep a count of how many times I've said cookie cutter when talking about Marvel titles in this very segment. But Steve, it's like what we always talk about. There's a reason why, because Marvel just feels copy and pasted. This feels so new, and I know that's easy to say, but it's true.
Telling thing is going to be is where they go after they get 12 issues in. After
100%.
the newness is worn off, a year in, is it going to stay fresh? Are they going to be able to find good plot points with the characters in the world that they've developed in this alternate universe? Or is it going to go the Marvel route where they just, it's just 100 copies of different, variations of the same theme over and over and over again, which is why we're so tired of Marvel events at this point. It's like, dude, we've already read this. What are you going to do?
This morning, when I was making this cup of coffee, because I remember numerous times we've alluded or compared Absolute Batman to the Ultimate Marvel. Ultimate Marvel was so cool when it first came out, and then it got dated real quick. So I was thinking that same thing, and I love that you bring that up. I wonder if we're doing a Best of 2026 show, if we're talking about the exact opposite.
Well, man, Absolute jumped the shark back in February.
Well, I will say this, right?
Exactly.
You are 16 issues into this book.
Right.
And at 16 issues in, we are getting multiple times a week people walking in or calling, asking, do you have copies of Absolute Batman, Absolute Superman, Absolute Wonder Woman in stock? Do you have back issues? Which ones do you have? I mean, we're sold out of back issues of Absolute Batman. We continue to do the reprintings of Absolute Batman 1. I think they're in their 8th or 9th printing of it now already, which is, Erik can tell you, that's an astronomical number of reprints for a comic book. And, Erik, when you've seen this and you've seen the trend on comic books, especially modern comic books for the last couple of years, there's not really been a strong staple outside of, I guess I could argue, Ultimate Spider-Man.
Because that was going to be my question for you, Steve,
Right?
really quick on the business side. Not to interrupt, but has anything like this sold in recent memory? And maybe Erik can allude to that too, because I wouldn't know. Because you talk about how all the Absolute titles are just flying off the shelves and the demand is high. Is there anything comparative to this?
Not currently. There is nothing that we order. So for us, we're over 50% clip of pull boxes have this title pulled. So they take one of every edition that comes out. This book, the way that they've just done it is it's pulling, and what it's doing is it's taking people that are like traditional Marvel readers.
Yeah.
The apologists are in on this book, and rightfully so, they should be. And I absolutely, look, I tip my cap to Scott Snyder and what he has written and come up with and created here, because what this book has become is just, this is going to be, when this is done, this is going to be your modern set of keys that are going to be those big modern keys. And the first time that they introduce a new protagonist to Absolute Batman, that character I hope has a strong storyline, because it could be that introduction of Venom to Spider-Man, could be the introduction of whatever character it is to Batman. Because when Absolute Bane came in, they introduced Absolute Bane. That book was big. That book is now massive. And that's just for Bane, a character that we have a little bit of an understanding of how he's like miswired, right? So the fact that they bring a new character in, and when they do that, I think that is going to be a huge telltale on exactly how strong this line's going to run. Because if that you come out of that character feeling a little bit of the introduction of Venom, then I think you're going to be, which means our absolute Batman is probably going to get his ass kicked in that first confrontation.
Yeah, right.
He needs to. You know what I mean? Like, we need that to happen. So I think that's cool. But Erik, what I was trying to allude to was just over the period of, the last few years, have you seen any other books that you really feel like this had this type of fanfare and fell off?
Not like this. This is so unique in its way. Like, I mean, it's so bizarre to be using the word unique with Batman, but
right.
But this really does feel like a unique thing where it's like it's hitting the collectors the way it's hitting it. It's hitting the readers the way that it's hitting it. Like, everyone is in love with this book in a way that, I don't know, you maybe have to go back to kind of mid-run Invincible, maybe, and even then you still don't have the sales,
And speaking of mid-run, like, Paul, like, you're someone who's jumping in kind of in the middle of it, just trying to, whether it be retroactively catching up or just for the hell of it throwing yourself in blindly. Is this like what Erik kind of alluded to there? Is this tapping into that? The fact that it doesn't even matter if you're filled into the story. We're getting a new and unique Batman, so that's enough to sell you.
Yeah, 100%. It's. I don't feel like I'm missing, anything. So it's great to just jump in right now. Now, my question is, how do I read this? Do I take it out of this and then be very careful and then put it back in?
Have you not read it?
I haven't read it yet.
Oh my
because
God.
I don't want to ruin
Okay.
it.
Better. Even
All right,
better.
so there's
He's just
Paul. Here's the
by
thing.
looking at it.
There's two
Mom's
kinds of people
laughing
that
at
buy
me,
comics, basically. There are collectors and there are readers. Okay, you've got a very collectible issue there that is bagged and boarded, which means it's probably in pretty good condition, which means you have the option of either taking it out and making it a reader, which is going to make it less valuable, or you can go online to like marvel.com and read it digitally for the same fee as a physical comic. Usually it's like $4, and then you can read it digitally, and sometimes they'll do frame by frame. I don't know how Marvel does it. Some of the readers do like frame by frame. It goes from this panel to this panel to this panel, which I like that reading style when I'm doing it digitally. When I'm looking at the pages, it's hard because a lot of times for a full spread, it'll be one page and then the other page, and I have to go back and forth between the pages to get the order right. But you have a choice right now. You can either hang on to that as a collectible. It's probably going to be worth more than the $6 you paid for it at some point. You can send that in to get graded. You can get it signed in graded. You can do lots of things with it. If you take it out and read it, though, the collectability goes down.
I feel like we just got an incredible moment, right? And that is, whenever I get an opportunity, and being the end of the year, this is just so incredible that this gets presented this way. Whenever I get an opportunity to fix something that Brendan was absolutely adamant about, I take this moment. These are the big wins for me, right?
What's up? What happened?
So what I would like to do is for those
What's the
who are
setup?
listening,
This isn't on the ROS. I think we should just go on.
if you're listening and you're watching this, I would just like to reference the fact that, yes, we are aware that Batman as a whole is a DC title and not Marvel, and that you would go to the DC Universe Infinite.com.
You know what? I'm
if
sick.
You would like to read this
And
comic.
I drank half a bottle.
Totally fine. And I would just like to point out that this is one of those moments.
So this is Festivus now. We're just doing
Where
Festivus
Brendan
now.
Wait, does
wrong.
DC even have an online reader? Now I got to look. Yeah, you got me. You got me. You're right.
And-
You're right.
And can you imagine a new person comes into the industry and then here's this? I mean, they're never going to come back. So thank you,
Yeah.
Steve. Thanks for
They're all
clarifying
like,
that.
yeah,
Because
no,
we
thank
could have
you.
lost. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, he was trying to eliminate our viewership
out.
in one statement.
I'm out.
Yeah.
I don't
He's
want
like,
anything to do with
you
this
can
fan
go read this,
culture.
Paul. Go ahead and go get a membership at
Dude.
marvel.com to read their comics. You could go read this. Paul would have went there. Paul then would have came back and said, I can't find it.
And
Right.
then I would have
I
gotten
would've
see.
left
So
before
Marvel
And
would
then
have
you
gotten a
would have been
sale
like,
out of
I
it.
know
DC
they have it
would've gotten a sale
online.
out
So
of it.
then you
Where's
would have
the,
went
where's
down
the
this
problem?
rabbit hole. And then Brett
What's the-
Lawson would have finally been like, okay, guys, I've been sitting back for a little bit and watching this, but Brendan, you got it wrong. That's what we would have done.
Read Batman at Marvel.com.
Right. Right.
Go to your DC comics at Marvel now.
But
But also,
So
the real link,
DC
just so you guys know, so we
UniverseInfinite.com
do
is where you would
clarify
go to
correctly.
read that. Paul, DC Universe Infinite. That's a really long damn URL. DCUniverseInfinite.com. And you can read the comics there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
but
they
it
have a
also
free
we
trial
know you
even.
won't, Eric, but if you want to go ahead and edit him reading the DC stuff instead of Marvel, and you're welcome to do it, but it will completely ruin my year, which is okay, right? Because we're into the Festivus portion, and the Festivus portion is where we get to
I'm airing
put our
grievances.
gripes and air our grievances.
Yes.
So grievance number one is not necessarily a grievance as much as it's a recognition for me of someone's behavior that has changed. And I want to applaud this person. And that is Mr. Brett Lawson showing up on time.
Oh, yeah.
Nah.
It's easy.
Here.
I'm at the house.
Because he couldn't show up on time
Nope.
earlier in the year when we were on another platform.
Yep.
So I just want to point that out as that as much of a pain in the ass as that was for quite some time for me.
Mhm.
I appreciate that you've changed
Yes.
that effort. I will point out, though, that on weeks that you're not here and
Mhm.
aren't going to be here, that doesn't necessarily mean that you don't respond or engage the conversation that's going on. You seem to be like, I'm not there. You treat it like it's a job, and you're like, well, I'm not there, so they can figure it out. I just like to point that out because I got a message yesterday from Brendan
Yes.
talking about the fact that he can't wait any longer to get this pushed out, to wait on everyone to respond to him, because 4 hours later after he'd asked a question, guys hadn't responded yet. You did respond to it in true Brett Lawson timing, which was probably
next day.
around 12 to 14 hours after the question was asked, which is great.
Yes.
But I will point out that just sometimes when, you're not here in front of us doesn't necessarily mean you can't contribute. So just want to
fair
point that out.
That's
so
fair.
as much good as you did, I'll pass that. And with that, I'll pass
That's
the
fair.
baton to you, Brett. You're up.
Let's see. None of the grievances are really with anybody on the show.
Okay.
So yeah.
I thought we were sticking in the room.
Oh
so
no,
that-
that's absolutely fine.
Okay.
As far as the breaking of that's just actually fair. I take that back. The breaking of the balls of the San Diego trip was definitely sour grapes on your guys' end. So not that I was offended in the moment. I actually thought it made for great content. Suck it the hell up. Outside of that, not much to say, because honestly, the fashionably late thing, you kind of took the throne for that for the show this year, to where we were actually starting.
There were
the show
several
without
shows in a
you.
row that you were very late for.
Yeah. So,
Is
and
this,
then there
by the
was
way, for the record, just for
the
clarification standpoint,
phone calls and stuff
are
like
these
that.
are both of these yours and Brendan using this? Is that a
Oh,
dual
No, I'm just backing
grievance
them up.
thing,
I'm
Eric?
I'm
The phone-
providing the receipt
The
because
phone,
people
yeah,
don't see that call time is always 10 o'clock and
yeah.
you guys show up at like 10:20,
Oh,
10:27, 10:34.
100%. And that's
for
why,
me.
and that's how you know this isn't a
Absolutely.
lot. That absolutely, and that's how you know this
Can I
isn't a
borrow your
live show. It's a recording. It's a recorded show, and yet
Right.
that'd be my one for yours, Steve. If I have to contribute when I'm not
Yes, I
here,
will. Okay, bye.
then your phone calls
No, I
gotta
didn't.
wait, take backseat to the podcast. But
Oh,
Mute him.
dude,
Paul, mute your mic,
Paul,
dude.
good lord, yeah. So that's my
There's my
grievance.
grievance.
That's
Paul,
my
mute
grievance
your
with Paul.
mic.
Paul can't mute his mic. Steve,
If
hang
there's
up
any
your phone.
question of whether you should be muted
my
ever,
God.
yes. The answer is yes.
Steve, hang up your phone. Paul, mute your mic. And Brennan, next time, if like my 5 o'clock shadow is that shitty, just text me and tell me it's looking bad. Eric,
Okay, I
you're
won't do
Eric.
that on air.
Yeah, that's fair enough. but honestly, no feelings were ultimately hurt in the moment. I thought it made for great content. So don't refrain from roasting me in other ways. Just roast me in new ways. That's all I'm saying. So
You know what? The one
by all
thing
means.
that I really
Erik,
appreciate about
Erik, you're kosher. You're perfect. You're good.
My phone's
About-
ringing. Should I answer it?
everybody who's here actually is how everybody has adapted to just learn to eat shit, knowing that it's good content and
Oh,
knowing
100%.
that everybody else here like loves everybody else here and that it's just good
100%.
content.
That's why I had to
Because-
think about like my grievances. I'm like my personal, like actual beef is with none of you guys. But
I'm
then I
like,
think
I'm like,
about
Paul,
it makes for
Paul,
good
I'm gonna
callbacks
call you
to the
ugly
show.
on the show. It's on the run of show. And he's like, cool, let's do that.
And they're also good notes too, because whether we address them or not makes for good future content. So in 3 weeks, Steve could say, Brett has completely failed to contribute to the group chat. Also, I could say literally how Steve just joked a second ago, I'm getting a call. Should I take it? I don't even necessarily need for you guys to change now that we're all aware of it, because not changing, even if it drives everyone crazy, is going to make for good content. I'm not saying let's deliberately say, F off and not do it. I'm just saying either way, like Brennan said, we're going to be able to touch back on it. So I like the fact that that's become a part of the show, because if you can't bust each other's balls on a podcast, you don't got a good podcast. Period.
Well, and on that note, I think it's fair of us to go to Erik and
Yes.
let Erik air his grievances.
Okay.
What are we stuck at? You do a lot of podcasts now. I know that you're
I know,
involved in
right?
several podcasts and producing a bunch of different content for different websites.
Mhm.
How do we rate as the biggest pains in the ass you've ever met?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Actually, no, not biggest pains in the ass, oddly enough. Like my show
Doing
grievance is
something right.
entirely technical. It's entirely down to the fact that whenever I start talking, my mic doesn't want to kick into gear. So when you listen to the playback, it's always like, and then I kick in, and it drives me nuts. Like that is literally my grievance for the show, is my own setup.
Boy, that's so funny.
Wow.
Brendan
Wow.
Brendan actually
Taking it on the chin.
Brendan texted me right before I showed up 3 minutes late.
Mhm.
He texted me on time within the window to say, don't make fun of Erik's mic. It's a sensitive subject. So then the fact that this gets brought up, I totally get it. We will have one more, air of grievances, but I think it's important for us to take a quick moment and just reflect back and be very, honest with everyone that first off, it has absolutely been a pleasure to spend the last year working on this podcast with you guys, having as much fun, getting together weekly, enjoying the things that we're doing, talking about, coming up with cool content, and to have a little break in the monotony of what becomes every day. And it's fun to get here and to talk about things and to be involved in some of the conversations and things that I wouldn't necessarily be leading with. And one thing I want to do, and I don't want to take away from anybody here whatsoever. Erik, you've been a great addition, and we really appreciate everything you've done and stuff. But I want to give credit where credit is due. This show only exists because of Brendan Allen. And it's only because of the effort that he puts forward, how much time he dedicates to it. And I just want to give that credit where it truly is deserved. I think sometimes because he's a guy that just kind of does things, that he takes it as it's no big deal. It's just what I do. But I don't think he realizes that having the organization and the execution that he's put together for us has made every single one of us on this panel a much better person or panelist on the podcast. So again, I'm going to give the credit where credit is due. And Brendan Allen, I really appreciate you. And of course, I appreciate all the contributions that everyone else has had.
And it's 1,000% true, but you also have to air the grievances. Like we have to hear the rest of because I love the ones that you threw my way, but I feel like other than Erik, who like I said is kosher, I kind of evenly dispensed them all.
Well, okay, so let's air the grievance real quick. Okay,
so Brendan and Paul and Erik.
Grievance with Brendan Allen is very simple and very easy.
Okay,
right. I don't need to be part of your daily trip to the gym. Okay. Because what time does that start, Brendan?
I leave my house at about 4:30. I'm awake at 4 o'clock, and I'm going through text and things. So I'm sending content via text and via messenger, starting at about 4 a.m.
I'm not involved. I'm not involved enough, and Brendan's too involved. That's basically what we're at.
As much as I love to hear from you, okay, you have disrupted many of mornings for me because
you're
it
allowed to
never
put
is
that thing on
one
silent.
message.
There's a
It's
button
never
for it.
one message that's like, "Hey, I'm heading to the gym. Have a great day." It's
I
not
was-
something like that. It's something that requires me to respond, and then if I don't respond within a certain period of time, there's a follow-up message that essentially asks the same thing, just in a different tone.
In like a slightly more passive aggressive
Brendan,
tone.
that would be my grievance.
That's great because I would
On
love to
Paul.
see your facial expression when you get those texts.
Okay. On
Eric
Paul,
gets those as well, but he's got his stuff
Yeah.
on silent. That's the difference.
and that's fine. That's how he lives his life. Eric's allowed to live his life a certain way. Okay. With Paul,
Actually, I think I've texted Paul at 4 a.m. also, but he's 2 hours ahead, so that's
My
6 a.m. But
grievance
that's also
with
5 hours
Paul-
before he wakes up.
I think is warranted, also a little unfair. Okay. So it's, two things. I think it's 100% welcomed, but also at the same time, I think it's a little unfair. And that is, Paul, you up and left Las Vegas, basically didn't tell us for quite some time where and what you were doing, why you were doing it, why you were in the I don't know, the witness protection program somewhere, because half the time that's what it looked like that you were doing. And I think the bigger thing was, and maybe this is a growth because it's not necessarily fair, because this was midway into, what we were doing across the board, but Paul's last minute introduce and bring someone into the show or have someone on the show made for some episodes that were incredibly trying, because we were trying to do something that was based on the run of show that Mr. Consistent had put together,
The glue guy.
and really, got going in the right direction. And then here's Paul deviating off of the fact of talking to some random person in an apartment complex that apparently was like his, and again, it's not true to say that with that. And I guess the only other thing is that, and Brendan brought this up on the Patreon, and I think that you and you weren't there for it, so I think it's fair to address it. And the fact that you stopped ordering all of your DoorDashes and everything, and you're making your mom cook, we have a problem with that as a group. The group of us have a problem with that.
Yeah.
I've lost, in my defense,
Get to work.
I've lost 25 pounds.
Oh,
So,
Hey, good for you. Hey, all right.
that's awesome.
so
I'm never gonna bag on that.
Yeah,
She smartened
Somebody
up and
take
she
that
stopped
show,
cooking for you. All right.
Yeah. So now she's got to bulk it back up.
and whatever. She's only 89. I mean, come on, guys. She had me when she was like in her
Badass.
60s, just so you guys know.
Badass. Yeah,
Yeah.
cool.
Why do you keep trying to throw your mom under the bus with you're like, how much my mom weighs? You know how old my mom is? And it's like, dude, those are two things you're never supposed to say about a lady,
woman.
especially somebody that is caring for you right now, because you're obviously not caring for her. We see what's happening here.
Has Paul ever?
there's
explained to you
there's
what
Brendan's
his mom's
grievance.
style is? Has Paul
No,
ever?
my grievance with
his
my
comedy
grievance with
style
Paul
is?
is that
The mic.
Paul left Las Vegas prior to securing our tickets to WrestleMania.
Ooh.
To get us because his cousin works on the show. So now he's not in Las Vegas. So I don't think that connection is going to happen. So I have to go to this other show that's happening the same weekend.
Now it's like
That's
grievance
rough.
or gripe.
Rough.
Yeah. Just,
My grievance with Brett is that, dude, green screens cost like $15
Oh, no,
and they
absolutely.
deliver them overnight
That's
on Amazon. Same day delivery.
Well,
gotta
the
make-
thing is,
that's
with all
gotta be
those boxes
canon.
in the background, we know
That's-
that you haven't missed an Amazon order in quite
That-
some time.
One
That's
$5.
That's gotta be the canon. That's gotta be the canon for the show. Like that, get the F out of the garage was in the chat, like the comment thread that we get to open the show. And I'm like, oh, absolutely. Because that's going to make the first show when I'm not in here, like its own episode, because now we're
My
wondering what the
grievance
hell's
with
up.
Steve is that he doesn't answer his phone at 4 a.m. when I call 6 times,
But he does answer it when we start the podcast.
but he does answer it when we're recording.
Do you guys have one for Eric though? Because I went softball. I backed
Well,
off.
I
of
have
Eric.
not seen my Christmas bonus from Comic-Con yet, Mr. Amaya. What is going on here?
Ooh.
What
Are
bonus?
you,
I don't get a bonus.
is this
You're getting a bonus? How did that happen?
Is
Oh,
this
was I
another
not supposed to
grievance.
mention that?
oversight and other
Well,
grievance.
Clark Griffin.
Yeah, right.
You know, I had comics keys all queued up for January 7th, because by the time this airs, that would have been the next one. But this is so much better. I don't even want to cut this off. So
Oh no, this is a perfect wrap, especially given the fact we haven't even gotten to Paul's grievances yet, which I would think would be
Lord.
the biggest part of the segment.
It's 100% the biggest
The bull-
part. It's
I mean, the
also
bullet
why
points.
I made
Bullet
sure to
points
save
are
Paul till
extensive.
last, because Paul was trying to call me and then he texted me. And the reason he said that he was trying to call me was to let me know that during the time that he wasn't available to us when his internet cut out, what he actually did was made his list. So we're going to go and let Paul go ahead and run his list.
Jotted them down.
And, so again, guys, great year on the C3 pod and everything. And appreciate
Looking
you all.
forward to the next one.
Paul, we're going to go ahead and let you
2026.
wrap it up, your grievances with, I guess, us. Go ahead.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is a long list, so I hope you guys got some time here, because they're all very important notes and points. Well, I don't think you let me promote paulvato.com enough, or vatocoin.com, or Parse Rum, or Kama Susia, but I never get enough time.
I told you it's in the damn freezer.
Your mic is on, buddy.
The freezer.
You're about the bodies. Oh no. Oh, it all falls apart. Oh my god. Well, yeah. Murdering people is a grievance. Steve always taking phone calls during the show. I mean, I just try to help prove a point. Brendan, I don't know, pretending like he's a Latino from Bakersfield. That's a little offensive and on the nose. And Erik, God, I wish I could say something bad about him. Is this pure perfect? Hello? Are you guys still there? I mean, I'm supposed to also get my stuff. Guys? Hello?